I think I see a lot of lawbreakers up in this house.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Sodcast For Me, the podcast about film, culture, politics, and Steven Soderbergh, where we watch every film directed by American filmmaker Steven Soderbergh and explore how they speak to their moment. And this one, show's hosted by two guys. I'm one of the guys. My name is Jake Serwin.
I'm one of the guys. My name is Ian Ryan. Jake, how you doing?
I just had a Sprite Zero. You know I am. Okay. I'm on cloud 9.
You're feeling
cloud
like
10. They're inventing new clouds.
You might be a fake guy made by a planet. That's what you're feeling right now.
When you look at Sprite Zero up close,
yeah,
identical to Solaris in this film. It's purple.
If you put a little bit of like acetone or whatever on top of Sprite Zero,
you just like hang it in like a shaft of sunlight, you know.
Oh,
yeah, you do get those like purple or mauvish, I guess, you know.
Yeah, but then you got the angel choir that's singing all the time. So you
with
gotta
the
put it
bubbles
away.
rising. Yeah, you're right.
Distracting.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Sprite Remix instead. Sprite Remix probably would have been more.
Oh man, did you guys ever have Sprite LeBron's mix?
No,
like
never tried
10 years ago.
How was it?
I guess Sprite got LeBron to say that he liked cherry and orange and lemon lime or something at the same time.
Yeah.
And
well,
it
he
was
liked grape
so
too.
good.
Like,
Yeah.
It was so good. And they brought it back. They've had different Sprite, like they're doing a lot of variants, and one of them I thought might have been LeBron's mix. This was like, now they call it like, you know, Sprite Crispy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't be sure, and so I need him to bring it back.
Wow, you've become a real sommelier of special little soda drinks.
A spermelier.
Yeah, you're pulling out,
Sommelier.
say, LeBron's mix from 2015 or whatever, and saying this is for a special occasion.
If I ever meet Drake, I'm gonna hit the button.
Okay.
Make him pop open and all the Sprite come out.
Yeah.
Let's do our little business here. Well,
Mhm.
I shouldn't say let's do our business.
Don't do that. Yeah.
This is a professional show. If you'd like to support the show, you can subscribe to our Patreon. $5 a month. You get a bonus episode every other week. We just talked about songs about Clint Eastwood, including the Gorilla song Clint Eastwood. Don't you want to hear that? $5 a month. Patreon.com/podcasty for me. Okay. Let's bring our guest in. He's already joined us for the what they're calling the Sprite Chat. Time Magazine is issuing an amendment. Yeah. No. Joining us on the show today, very excited to have him, writer and podcaster Aaron Thorpe. How you doing, Aaron?
Hey,
I'm
Aaron,
good.
what's going on?
I'm good, man. I just want to say too, thanks for inviting me on, because I feel like you know, I do a podcast, The Trailbillies, and I feel like I often mostly talk about political issues, which not to say we won't delve into politics here, but you know, electioneering, you know, contemporary politics. And a lot of the times, like when I go on you know, my homie Leslie Lee III, you know, who does Struggle Session,
of course.
I always love just talking about media, you know.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you inviting me on to talk about a movie that which we'll mention, that I have not seen in a long time and made me incredibly depressed. But also I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. That movie was sad as fuck. I didn't.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. We'll get into it. But I just did not remember how melancholic that movie was. So.
Yeah, it really is. No. We're so glad to have you. The pleasure is ours. And I think that, you know, talking about media to me is talking about politics.
Right.
But it's also talking about aesthetics, talking about culture, and everything sort of plays into everything else. But I do think that in this film in particular, like it's fascinating how both apolitical it seems, but then also, I mean, I've been thinking about the movie. I've been percolating. I've been sipping my Sprite Zero and thinking, and I think we can locate some politics.
I think we can too. Yeah.
We can. And I don't want to jump the gun, but you know, I was trying to place this movie. This is not an adjective. Sorry. Zeitgeistically, I was trying to place it within the zeitgeist, right?
That's a
it
good
came
exercise.
It came out in 2002, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to.
No, we're gonna talk about it.
Well, okay. Exactly. Yeah. Go ahead.
I have some zeitgeist, some crucial zeitgeist information.
I couldn't figure it out. But I couldn't figure it out. Besides, maybe the first like 10 minutes when, I mean, we'll talk about it, but there are clues where it's
you
like,
get one big zeitgeist,
right?
I guess
like,
two,
what are
maybe
these
two
people
big
talking
zeitgeists.
about? And also, this film seems like it's some atemporal, right? Where obviously the technology and like, you know, the whole plot device, it seems as if it exists in this like not even near future, right? At this point, in 2002, but like a far future.
Yeah.
But nobody has like in Minority Report, right? That came out in God, what was that? Came out in 2000.
Same year.
Yeah, same year.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But dude, they have like fucking technology that Steve Jobs looked at.
I call him Steven out of respect.
Yeah, I call him Steven with an H out of respect. Actually, it sounds. But no, it's like I feel like that film, you know, and a lot of films at that time, and like I mean, I guess Gattaca. I mean, I don't want to jump the gun, but I'll say that as a preface, I'll say that Gattaca. I put this in the same league as Gattaca, where it feels like a science fiction film that is somehow constitutes, right, like this vision of a future at the time, but the aesthetics are, well, in Gattaca they were retrofuturistic, but in this film they're very like postmodern, you know. So like there's a bit of a sharper image future going on here. Yeah. But there is like there are a couple things in this film where I'm like, okay, are they talking about 9/11? Like, I don't get it. Like in the very beginning, but we'll get into it. But yeah, I like this film a lot. I did like this film a lot. I didn't realize how much I liked it until I rewatched it.
You can tell our guest is a much more experienced podcaster than us, because we have a bunch of bullshit that we always try to do at the top of the show. And he's like, oh, no, let's talk about the movie we're talking about.
The listeners are getting confused. Like, wait, these guys can talk about something interesting and intelligent in the first 30 minutes. Not possible. Yeah.
There's a fourth mic. We are joining us for this whole Soderbergh series is our friend, the virtual assistant from the 2022 Steven Soderbergh film, Kimmy.
Hey, Kimmy.
It's Kimmy. How you doing, Kimmy?
Hello, Ian, Jake, and esteemed guest Aaron. It's me, your digital assistant, Kimmy.
She just jumps in there. Sorry,
Aaron. Hey, Kimmy, what's up?
That gives me... Wait, okay, so we're talking bullshit, dude. I bought this. I bought this. First of all, I want to say too that like on the Trillbillies, not to like shepherd people to that podcast, but like we
shepherd them. Yeah,
we literally open up with the stupidest fucking shit ever. It has nothing to do with the rest of the depressing, apocalyptic conversation that we will have. But like I also too, the reason why Aaron from Hit Factory Pod, which I love those guys. I went on with Aaron and Carly to talk about a couple movies, but what I especially loved when Aaron hit me up, he was like, "Yo, they're talking about Steven Soderbergh shit," and I was like, "Dude, I like love this fucking guy, dog." Like, I didn't realize how much I liked his movies until like I saw Kimmy, you know, and like of course, like did he also do what's the pandemic movie?
Contagion.
Yes. I mean, which obviously during the pandemic, people were watching and they were like, "Oh shit, this guy was so prescient." And the way he covered like a pandemic.
Oh, I think it's pretty clear now that he was in on COVID. He was in the lab.
he was actually cooking. He was cooking COVID in the lab so he could release the movie.
Yeah,
it was vertical integration, but no. But go ahead. I don't want to derail. But
no.
Let's ask Kimmy what she's up to. Kimmy, what you been up to?
So Kimmy actually, Kimmy got a question. We got a question from a listener seeking some digital assistance. Ryan wrote in and asked, I am often paralyzed by choice of movies to watch. There are simply too many. How can I make it easier to pick movies to watch? Kimmy, what do you got for us?
Hi, Ryan. It's me, Kimmy the digital assistant.
Yeah, we know.
Thank you for the question.
So creepy.
By analyzing all the metadata in the Internet Movie Database, I have discovered that every film ever made can be placed on a continuum with two poles. At one end is Derek Jarman's Blue, and at the other end is Breck Eisner's The Last Witch Hunter.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you going to expand on that? Like, how is this useful?
When you sit down to choose a movie to watch, you can simply think about how far you'd like it to be from Blue and The Last Witch Hunter.
I think that's right.
That's clear enough to me. I mean, you could give an example, I guess.
For example, the exact midpoint on the continuum is Casablanca.
Okay.
And the films on either side are House of Flying Daggers and Osmosis Jones.
Okay.
Osmosis
Jones,
helps.
I fuck with though. I do fuck with that.
Is he real?
Osmosis Jones?
I mean, yeah. He live in your body, nigga. Of course he's real. He live in your body, bro.
That's a great point.
He's fighting
start
crime.
tearing my skin off. Like, do you think anybody like gets too stoned and like starts to see Osmosis Jones like crawling around under their skin
every time
like
I
bugs?
smoke cigarettes, and I know that the budding like metastasis of cancer is like attacking my lungs. I'm just
You're
like, yo,
saying
that's
sorry to
Osmosis
Jones.
Yeah, I'm like, no, Osmosis Jones is ACAB for like cancer cells, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he fights cancer cells. Hopefully,
ACAB does. I guess all cops are blood.
ACAB includes Osmosis Jones, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, he is a
Was
cop.
it Bill Murray?
No,
He's
wasn't
in
Will
Bill-
Smith. Wasn't Will Smith Osmosis Jones?
No, but I mean, wasn't he in Bill Murray's body?
I think that's
Was it
right.
There's
Yeah,
like
Bill-
wraparound stuff where it's all taking place in Bill Murray's body.
wait,
I
hold
think.
up. So you're telling me
It was Chris Rock was the voice of.
Yo, Chris Rock. I said Will Smith.
Was
Okay,
the voice
confusing black guys. It's fine. I'm black. I can do that.
They
But it's fine. I can do
shared a
that.
crucial moment. The two of them. They've famously they've met. No, I think it was inside Bill Murray's body, unless I'm thinking of something else.
No,
Bro,
you're
like-
absolutely right. And he's in love with Molly Shannon. I did have to double check. It came out before Solaris, so we're allowed to talk about how it informed the film of Solaris.
Can I say this? I would like
Yeah.
to believe that Zombieland, in which Bill Murray is a character, where they find him. What's his name? Woody Harrelson and fucking Emma Stone and fucking Jesse Eisenberg, where they find Bill Murray and they think he's a zombie. I would like to believe that the Osmosis Jones movie exists in the same universe.
Oh,
as
he's
Zombieland.
fighting the zombie.
Yes, I
he's
think
fighting the
exactly.
zombie
I would like to
virus.
believe.
Yeah.
I would like to believe that because it just ties together my whole diseased sort of slot watching. You know.
Yeah,
I'm like acquaintances. Like we're not friends. I wouldn't say we're friends, but me and Danny Boyle like text sometimes, and he told me that Osmosis Jones is going to be in 27 years later too.
Hold up, you can't just say that. And
No, I
you can't
don't.
say he's lying.
Fuck
He's lying.
Solaris,
So it's a
bro.
lie.
You can't just
Yeah.
say that and like not elaborate on the fact that you
I'm
know.
lying, but
Okay,
But I'm lying,
sorry.
but
I
our
fucking
friend-
joke. Sorry, but no, seriously, that'd be amazing.
our friend Brandon Streisnick did like hang out with
Oh,
Danny
yeah,
Boyle
Brandon.
to interview him.
They had
shout
a
out to
wonderful
our
conversation.
friend the pod.
Yeah.
Yo, he's cool. He's a good dude.
Yeah, shout out to Brandon. I will check with Brandon just to confirm that Osmosis Jones.
He's
is
gonna be
not
like,
gonna
nah,
show
nigga,
up.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't know who the fuck that
movie-
is.
Did they do a TV show of that?
They did, yes.
They did, like, the
WB
spin-off?
Kids, maybe. Yep.
Yeah. Now all I'm going to be thinking about is Solaris, the animated series, where it's just like, I guess it would have to be somebody's like kids solving mysteries. Isn't that usually how it goes? Like the Mummy TV show.
like
was
a
just
Nancy
like
Drew
kids.
type character who gets
Yeah.
sent to the space station.
There was also the Back to the Future animated series that was Doc. It was Doc and Mary Steenburgen's kids, and they were like solving time mysteries.
Was
or
that?
whatever.
I mean, that came in the
That's
80s. That
real.
probably lasted like a season and a half at the most, probably.
Yeah, and the guy, the head writer of that show made $14 million or
Probably
something.
also a pedophile, probably as well. No, I'm kidding. I don't know that.
You got
I don't-
Almost definitely.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
It informs the work. Anyway, let's do our signature segment, the 2 questions.
It's time for the 2 questions, our signature segment where we ask each other 2 questions.
So, what are y'all's favorite? Because I think Solaris is very much a space madness movie, right?
Yeah.
And I guess I'm gonna ask, like, I mean, I guess I have mine, but it's not a movie. It's actually a literature by J.G. Ballard. But what are y'all's favorite depictions of space madness that you've seen in any kind of media? Could be film, books, TV, whatever.
Already, I got a shout out. First thing that comes to mind, of course, is in the film Armageddon, space dementia.
He's got space dementia. Like when
He's got space dementia.
Is that different from regular dementia? Like, is it like wait.
Yeah, it's in space. I think I've been watching a few Space Madness movies in preparation
This could not be
for
a more
this.
perfect question given what I know about your recent viewing pattern.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll talk about Event Horizon some more, but I just watched Event Horizon, which is a great
so
Space
good.
Madness
I have
movie.
not seen. I have not seen.
You should check it out. It's kind of like a haunted house movie
that's
in space.
That's literally what, like, yeah. I mean, that's
Solaris is,
exactly.
Yeah, Soderbergh said, I'll give my Event Horizon point now. There's no reason to save it. Soderbergh talks about how when he read the book, he thought there are like 60 different movies you could make out of this. And he just like picked sort of one of the types of movie you could make out of Solaris. And I think another type of movie you could make from it is Event Horizon. Like that's another sort of flavor of the adaptation, and to the point where like one of the characters is a doctor who has a wife who killed herself and like appears to him on the ship, like that level of homage. So that's a really good space madness movie. And I'm just thinking about the scene in Claire Denis' High Life where
That's a good film.
Juliette Binoche is basically having an intimate moment with the spaceship.
So she fucking. So it's like Crash, but in space.
It is
like J.G. Ballard.
It's a big jerk off
Crash.
movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's basically exactly what it is. Yeah.
I gotta watch that.
Except if
I'd like to fuck a spaceship, bro. I'd fuck the Enterprise, bro. I'd fuck the USS Enterprise, bro.
Sure. Oh yeah, Majel Barrett. She's got a beautiful
by
voice.
The Warp Core, brother. I would do that. I would do that shit.
Wasn't it? I've never seen Farscape, but isn't the ship like a lady in that?
Yeah, the ship. No, the ship is called Moya. Yo, don't get me. You shouldn't have brought that up, bro. I'm not gonna.
Sorry.
I love it's first of all, it's an Australian produced show. Claudia Black is
Claudia Black from Pitch Black, right?
Pitch Black, but also she was in fucking Stargate. And
okay.
Yeah, I mean, like beautiful, like raven-haired Australian woman. But no, the ship in Moya Moya, the ship in Farscape is a living ship, and I mean, you can't fuck the shit. Like, you can't put your dick in, like, you know, with a. It's not a joystick. What is? I don't know what the helm is like. This is not real, but you could put your dick somewhere, maybe in the ship.
You know that thing that R2D2 puts his little
R2D2 his little prog like extender thing.
Yeah,
you just put your penis in that. Yeah, man. I mean, I'd fuck more. Dog, you know,
that's what he's doing.
I mean, basically,
he's pretending to open the door, but it's not what he's doing. Yeah,
I guess it's like a same species thing because he's a robot fucking like a ship. So it's like, you know, in the future, would we be like, you cannot in this movie? Would you be like Solaris, which we're about to talk about? Would you be like, you can't fuck like a representation, which actually brings up some really fucked up, confusing questions, right?
About, what is it to be alive if you're not having desire
and consent?
That's right. Yeah.
All that shit, dude. So it's like, I guess you'd have to actually.
Oh man, I just remembered in Solo, Lando is in love with the Solo movie, the Star Wars. Lando is in love with the robot lady, and then at the end, to like save her robot life, he like puts her consciousness into the Millennium Falcon, which it turns out the whole time the Millennium Falcon was basically like an imprisoned consciousness.
You're lying. That didn't happen in that movie.
Yeah,
dude, I saw that movie, and like, I hate Star Wars. I don't hate it. Okay, I don't hate it. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
So I don't remember any of that. But did that happen? I feel like you're lying.
That happened.
No, it didn't.
I've had a big couple weeks of these science fiction films giving me existential crises about what it is to interact with art. And I would say Solo did that in the opposite way. I walked out of it thinking, are all movies really just this dumb, and I'm just pretending that they're any smarter than this?
It's right now. No, it is.
Yeah. I've had some problems of like that myself with the movies.
I mean, Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. You know, I've been trying to. I mean, because I hate New Trek, you know, and I know we're going to get on to talk about which actually.
Wait, Ian, Space Madness before we forget.
Yes, Ian,
yeah. Of course. First, I just want to shout out I would imagine you guys are familiar with this concept of the overview effect, which is what astronauts talk about having when they go look at Earth from space, and I think it sounds entirely believable to me that like seeing the planet that everything you've ever known exists on gives you a sense of like, well,
having
maybe
a Bill Shatner.
Yeah, maybe we should work harder to preserve this. Maybe there's something valuable about humans. Right. So I think that's very cool. I want to shout out Moon. That's a fun.
Moon. Yeah.
Dude, with Gary Oldman, right?
Sam Rockwell.
With Sam Rockwell.
Why?
Like,
unfortunately, guy, yo, bro. Whatever, bro. Craggy old white guy, bro. No, I'm kidding.
For sure.
It is
Craggy,
Sam Rockwell.
definitely. Craggy, definitely. But
you're right.
I do unfortunately think it may have Kevin Spacey in a robotic role.
The robot. Yeah.
So he's like Gene Roddenberry's wife doing the computer in Star Trek.
Now there's a ship I would get it on with.
There's a pedophile speaking to you
speaking of
computer.
But that notwithstanding, I think it's a good film.
Allegedly pedophile. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How do we get sued? Yeah, we get y'all sued.
Yeah, but the alleged is light. The lightest of allegedly. So, yeah.
Alleged is butter light over toast light.
Yeah. I am programmed executive device 0, or pedo for short. I think he also abused men over the age of 18.
Yeah. Oh, no. He did. Yeah.
Allegedly. He stands accused of a whole panoply of things.
Aaron, what about you? You have a Space Madness. So you said you talk about J.G. Ballard, of course.
Yeah. So I won't derail the conversation too much or go in, but J.G. Ballard has a series of science fiction short stories that you can find in his complete short story collection from the 80s. Just read that whole collection. But there are 3 short stories from him. I think Myths of the Near Future is the one that I remember mostly. But anyway, all these short stories he wrote in the 80s after the space age, and they are all about humanity developing some mass psychosis from our ventures into space, which are very temporal, right? So all these three stories which read very similar, I guess, not just the themes, but even his writing. It's very it is very, I guess it can be exhausting if you've read that whole collection, which I've had, where I'm like, oh God, I can clock this dude easily, right, by his writing. His very multi-clause, verbose sentences. But they're all about people having these atemporal relations due to our travel into space, where either time slows down or people enter fugue states. And it's why I like it a lot is because I think space madness is often seen as some sort of, how can I say, some sort of in this genealogy of Lovecraft, right? Where Lovecraft's whole thing was that, there are these cosmic beings who are uncaring, right? And who are so powerful that it's not even that they interfere with our human lives because they want to control us, but they don't give a shit about us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But he turns it on its head, where there's no cosmic malevolent entity. It's just the fact that really we should not have been out there, right? So Myths of the Near Future is the one that I remember. Actually, also his short story, one of his short story collections, in which I think that story and two others are included. Which I'm sorry, I meant to take in my notes. I cannot remember the other two stories, but those are my favorites because as a sci-fi writer and as a guy who you guys were talking about my telescope that's in the back of my and I look up at the skies, man. I go into a whole thing, but especially as a black person, it's looking up into space and understanding that in a similar way with the overview effect, actually seeing that or Carl Sagan's pale blue dot monologue, right?
Right.
That everyone who's ever lived, everyone who will ever live, has existed on this planet. And seeing, as a black person, looking at the craters, right, of the moon, with my fucking telescope, and crying when I saw that shit and being like, yeah, bro, niggas should just move to space. No, I'm kidding, not really. But I think that's often I think space madness is sort of the opposite response to this space utopianism, where it's no, bro, maybe we shouldn't go out there. So that's why I asked the question and why I like this movie, because there are things out there that we do not understand that bring back and harken back, as we're talking about Solaris, that harken back to very terrestrial human feelings like grief, loss, sentience, all of that. So J.G. Ballard, I will I wish I could remember those three short stories, but
we'll look them up. I'll put them in the notes.
But those are mine, that's my space madness thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I like about science fiction is, and also just reading about popular science writing about astronomy or the experiences of people who've been to space, is the profound, sort of unimaginable perspective that it gives you, the like you were saying, Aaron, looking at the moon, looking at places that are so vastly far away and larger and older than things that seemed hugely important and inescapable on Earth, are whatever. My boss is pissing me off, but Venus has my boss is nothing to the planet Venus,
Venus, also Venus too. You could say that Venus too, based on its I guess extraterrestrial climate, based on its
acid rain.
Yeah, exactly. You could say that actually, exploring space, even though I don't think that. And I don't think it's possible, but I don't think that we should even. I mean, it's the whole, Joe Scott Heron thing, right? Or that Whitey on the moon, right? Stuff. Just the idea that we spend so much money. But the point is that, I do think, even though I agree with that sort of, especially, very race and class based analysis of space exploration, I do think that looking at the stars and the cosmos can inform not only where we came from, but where we're headed. And if you look at Venus, Venus essentially, we will become Venus, right? At some point in terms of, not right now, but given our anthropocentric society, and given like all the human causes, right, that create climate change and exacerbate, all these actually like natural evolutions of the earth, well, I don't even say exacerbate. Actually, I think we're grossly changing and morphing into something that it should not be, or speeding up, whatever you want to say. I do think that like you could look at it and be like, oh shit, that's where we'll be at,
Yeah.
I think that's a key question. I mean, of both Solarises, is to say, if we go out there, will it help us somehow? Will it illuminate things? Or will it just become a screen upon which we project feelings we already have, ideas?
Yeah.
This is exactly, you could not have set up my question better, which is, do you have an experience in your life that you wish you could give to other people? Sorry. That you wish you could, like you think other people would be better off if you could share this experience? Like if they had this experience.
Am I getting rid of it, or is it like
no,
multiplying?
Good question. No, you still have it, but you just think that like they would understand something better, or they would benefit from it. So if I could
basically Vulcan mind meld, sort of.
Exactly. That is the question.
We needed the Star. I just want to say, like, we needed the Star Trek reference 30 minutes in. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, that speaks to the power of science fiction to give us these metaphors for things that are like, they are effective, even though that no one's ever actually Vulcan mind melded that we know of.
So you ain't Vulcan mind meld, bro? My Vulcan mind meld, dog. No, bad shorty and lamp. No, I'm kidding. I'm not that mad. I wish I would. I wish I would.
Let's get serious, guys. I wish I could make somebody come.
Hey everybody, Jake here with a editor's note. I did not hear Ian say this, and it's maybe the craziest thing he's ever said on the show. I wish I had interrogated him for about 30 minutes on that statement, and I didn't, and I apologize. Really, I want to make it up to you guys. I pledge to do better. Let's hear it again.
Let's get serious, guys. I wish I could make somebody come.
Incredible. I did nerve pinch a punk on the bus in San Francisco whose music was too loud for everyone on the bus, and then everyone cheered.
Like, oh, you mean the nerve like grab his scrotum or something? I don't know what you meant. But like, which would be fine too, yo. I'd be fine as well, yo.
Remember in Star Trek 4 when he knocks the guy out on the bus for playing his boombox?
Oh, I remember Tuvok, just like a black man walking up to you from behind and like nerve pitch you on your like your clavicle, and you would pass out. I wish I could do that as black man.
That'd be so cool, dude. Let's see. Experience I'd like to share with others. I mean, it could go either way, because I could do, I guess if we're talking enemy or friend.
Either one. I think you make your own call,
I think that this is a hard one.
Can I clarify for you?
Yeah.
Can I say that is it like because when I think of that question, I think of either a wholesome experience that I would like the rest of humanity to feel, or maybe like a bad experience, like shitting in my drawers, like when I was like 12, my dad didn't pick me up from the bus stop and had diarrhea, and maybe my enemies, instead of putting them in a gulag, I'm just like, I want you to shit in yourself. Maybe hell Humbling. Is not like hell for other people is just like hell is other people is more like hell is I want you to walk around with shitty drawers. So is it a negative or positive experience?
I think both very legitimate approaches. I'm not going to declare this for you.
I got one.
Okay.
I think in terms of, we were talking about, anthropogenic climate change. I had an experience of profound scale, hiking on the, what is it called? Just like in the San Bernardino Mountains, and it was one of those hiking experiences where like the trail was kind of closed in by a lot of vegetation for like a long time, and was like pretty, but just fairly
limited scope. Yeah.
Right. And then got to the top of a hill, and it's basically the fanfare would have started if it felt like blaring, trumpets played,
and the clouds would have parted and the sun's rays would have hit you. I know what you mean.
And I just felt a sense of enormous peace and like pleasant smallness, pleasant a perspective that was grounding.
It was an overview effect for being on the Earth, you can kind of say.
Exactly right. That's a very good point. So I would like to inject that. I would like to sort of Clockwork Orange that into the brains of about 800 people on the planet.
Ludovico technique?
The Ludovico technique, yes, exactly.
There you go. Nice.
And let's just crank up the dial, and if it kills a couple people, then if he dies,
he dies. Who can't accept it because they have evil in their hearts, so they can never
exactly. It'll weed them out. So that's mine.
Yeah.
Ian, it sounded like you were going to say something very similar.
That's right. Maybe it's better for us to just rip it since we're making the same point here. Yeah, I would like to share an experience I had hiking in Glacier National Park with my parents and one of my brothers. Just one of the most beautiful places I've been on Earth, but also I think complemented by a couple key things. One, it is a national park that really deals with like constant bear attacks. So you're just hyper aware, I think, of mortality while you're out there.
Oh, look at this great ass mountain, bro! And then you get like Timothy. What's the guy's name? That got like a. Is it?
Oh, Timothy Treadwell.
Exactly.
I was about to say Leary. I was like, is that a white supremacist
He was also
terrorist?
having experiences.
Timothy Leary was he was the LSD guy. But the thing, it's interesting that you mention him though, because you know what bears do. They figured out that bears sit and look at nice views. Do you know about this?
Oh, I don't know.
Did they sit on their haunches and look out?
Yeah, so bears will apparently do this thing where they basically like sit up like a little guy and just kind of sit there. And scientists they've tried very hard to figure out what they're doing, and all they can determine is that like I think the bear is appreciating what he's looking at.
I did not know this. I could not have picked a better. Yeah, that's great.
This is, again, I don't mean to go back to like, I mean, I know we're going to talk about Solaris, but just the idea that this macro organism, right? The superorganism is the word, I guess, right? Like that it could perceive things in such a way that, I mean, we call it with some species who have a theory of mind, right? Where they like fucking a lot of corvids can do this, like magpies, crows,
right.
Like pass the mirror test
apes,
and know.
Yeah, exactly. But they can recognize that, like, this thing I'm looking at is not just an extension of myself, right? But is like a separate thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or I'm a separate thing. I exist as an individual. I just love that because, like, for mine, it's like, I was tripping balls. I think I mentioned on Twitter the other day. I was tripping balls, under my. This is not as magnificent as what you guys said. I was looking at my hated ex-girlfriend's house, tripping balls, looking at the back of her house, sitting under a tree in the backyard.
The back of her house.
It's not a beautiful sight. I'm looking at the back door of this house of this woman who I hate at the time. Hated. Hope she's doing well. Whatever. No, fuck her. But no, seriously. It's like, I was like tripping balls because we got in an argument the night before, and I always used to have an emergency pack of like an emergency acid, right? Which you shouldn't save acid in your wallet because it loses potency over time.
Breaking the glass with your big axe.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what it was. And I was like, I just had an argument with her. I'm gonna trip balls, right? And dude, I felt the grass between my toes, and I know it sounds corny, but I felt the grass between my toes, and I felt that everyone should know what this feels like, right? To feel grass. I mean, I guess the best kind of related example is I watched this video of I think these cows, right, that had been trapped in like a fucking slaughterhouse for not years. I don't know. I mean, years for a cow is like you're getting slaughtered very soon. But no, they had been trapped there, and finally they were let out and they were running around, and this is the first time they felt grass under their hooves. And I was sitting in this backyard tripping balls and squeezing the grass between my toes, and I really wished that everyone could have felt what I felt in that moment. It really informed my politics, to be honest with
you. That's what I was going to say. Is part of being up there was before you leave the lodge, you can look at the series of pictures of what the glacier that is up on, like one of the main glaciers in Glacier National Park, what it looked like in 1955 or something when it was whatever 3 times the size or something. And what it actually was, but
And that's when you first started killing people.
That's when I first wrote my manifesto. It'd be like, human beings have to die.
Because you walk up the mountain and it's this incredible experience. It's giving you this like romantic art, like you're saying, Jake, wander above the clouds, like where am I in time? But then, and on the one hand, you feel small because you feel like, what is human activity? These are mountains that were shaped by like millions of years of glacial movement. Right. But on the other hand, you feel sort of like too powerful because you walk up and you see this pathetic remains of a glacier that they tell you might not be there in like 15 years. Like in our lifetimes, they'll just be gone completely. Right. And you think like, are we too empowered? What's going on? How do I take action? Not just as sort of like a vague liberal, like we all need to take action, but as like an urgent, this thing in front of me will be gone, and so many other things like it will be gone if we don't.
Can I give you also like in addition to that too? I feel like that acknowledgement of the human capacity to change the environment also engenders some like powerlessness, right? Because you understand that you're competing with the natural world, right? And at the end of the day, I'm sorry, there's only so much we can do to shape the natural world before we are faced with the effects of what we've done. And it makes you realize how impotent, not to say impotent, but it makes you realize how, I guess, fragile and how transient the human race is, you know? And how it doesn't matter what I mean, I know we're going on, but like, I'll say this. The last thing I'll say about this is like, dude, I've been watching dinosaur movies like Jurassic Park, bro. Great. These niggas existed for 165 million years, dog. You know what I'm saying? The only reason they got wiped out was because of like act of God, you know? Like literally, basically, if you were like a rentier or some shit, or you owned a home and an asteroid hit your home, the only thing you could say is like, or a hurricane. Okay, let's be more realistic, right? You could be like, oh well, dude, I had no control of this, bro. Yeah, it was just like not God, not like, you know, any in the will of any higher intelligence, or no, it wasn't. I'm sorry, it wasn't. Mm-hmm. It was a random event. But you could say that like, you know, that was something that was completely uncontrollable, right? And you know, I think when I see cosmic events like the eclipse, or again, looking at the surface of the moon, right? As you were saying, Jake, right? Like looking at like all these craters and all the shit that's way older than we are, it makes me realize like how actually like powerless we are, right? Over these things that we have control over, which is why, not to get too like Marxist, which is why Marx, you know, there's that thing where people say that, you know, like labor, right? You know, is like this force of like, you know, history and human activity, right? It's nature, right? That's what it is, man. It's our ability to actually like, try to attempt to control nature, but also realize our futility in doing so, you know, that shapes human history. You know what I mean? I mean, this is why we had like, you know, like river valleys, right? River societies, right? At the beginning of human civilization, because they understood that like, oh, we have to be close to this natural source, right? That gives us life and community. And now, you know, not to, you know, be in a soapbox, but like we lost that, which again, you lost that in Solaris because you think that you could orbit this planet that's alive and you have no idea what the fuck you're dealing with, you know?
Let's talk about it. I'm psyched. Let's get into it. Okay. So we're talking about Solaris today. We're talking about Steven Soderbergh's 2002 film Solaris. Came out November 27th, 2002. It is, of course, an adaptation of the Stanislaw Lem novel from 1961, which had previously, very famously, been adapted by Andrei Tarkovsky and George Clooney, who stars in the film and co-produced it. His joke was that Soderbergh's film wasn't going to be 9 hours long. Sort of famously, Tarkovsky films are a bit long. Although
it was 2 hours and 47 minutes.
It doesn't even hit 3 hours, dude. Yeah,
I mean, but it's long.
It's so funny the way people talk about it when like, have you seen Avengers Endgame? You know,
bro,
like,
but also Avengers Endgame
shit
has,
that happens.
Okay, I'm not defending slop. Okay, this is the thing about that movie is like, okay, actually, I should rephrase this. Dude, there was like Tarkovsky loves like these long, plaintive shots of fucking water, you know, like the reflection of trees upon water. Bro, I watched this. I watched both of the films, obviously, but you know, the original 1972 Solaris, and I was just like, yo, bro, like I'm not even high. I'm just falling asleep. But then But then I was like, oh, this is like a whole. I mean, I don't mean to sound like a dumbass. I love art, folks. I'm not like just a slob, like from eating from the trough. But like, I will say that, like, you know, it made me realize that my attention span is so fucked that I could not appreciate a man recording a scene of like water, you know, for like 3 minutes.
Aaron, Ian laughed because he and I had the exact conversation where I watched Solaris. So I watched all the Tarkovskys in 2020 because
his
we
whole
were all
filmography.
we were finding ourselves with a little more time on our hands, weren't we? In 2020,
Contagion style.
Right.
And so I watched them all then and appreciated them. They were long, but like there was sort of a time dilation effect to the COVID-19, the early days of the pandemic, and I liked it. Watched it again for this recording and found myself having such a hard time, like, just slowing down, like meeting its pace.
Yes.
And so I am off vertical video. I have to stop watching Instagram reels for, I guess, probably till at least, maybe we'll try it in 2026.
I
but
watch
until
half of that shit on my phone, dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I have to be like, I can't disrespect the man like this and not watch it on TV. You know what I mean? So
Look, I'm gonna be the grouch here because the reason that this came up between Jake and I is that I was texting him because I was having like a Kelvin style crisis. I'm not exaggerating for podcast effect. I was thinking about quitting the podcast, reading stuff online, because I was reading about people approaching the Tarkovsky film with such disdain for like the possibility of taking the time to think about something. I got online because I watched the film. This is maybe the third watch for me. And I'm not saying it's a perfect film. There's things that you could improve, but I think it is such a powerful piece of art. And in particular, I had enjoyed the driving scene at the beginning of the movie. And
the driving scene is one of the best parts. Yeah.
And but that's interesting that you guys did that because I started to just write just for myself. Sometimes, you know, writing can just be generative to like help you develop your thoughts.
Yeah.
And I was thinking,
kill. Yeah. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Like stuff like that. And I went online thinking, all right, let me see what else people have said about this driving scene. I had no idea that this driving scene is like a meme basically among anti-art film people of like, if you want to show a waste of a scene, the driving scene in Tarkov. And I was like, why do I make a podcast about talking about art? It seems like, is this just for myself?
The driving scene is the transition for him going to the fucking planet, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's the way that I saw it, right? You know, the driving scene was basically a stand-in because, I mean, as we're going to talk about, like, I think, God, I forget the actor's name, but he says to George Clooney's character, Kelvin, before he departs for Solaris, he says to him, you know, you're going to be asleep for some time, right? Mm-hmm. That whole scene to me, when I watched like the original, I understood that whole 5 to 7 minute scene of driving as oh dude, like when I used to drive a car, bro, this is what it would be like to like I'm asleep in like stasis, you know what I'm saying? Cryostasis on a spaceship going to a far planet. No one at all what the fuck you're doing in like modern Western society when you're driving a car and traveling through across highways and tunnels is thinking about the fact that you're actually traveling, right? It's more about the destination where you're going to go. That was actually, instead of like, you know, not to shit on Interstellar, but like actually Interstellar didn't even show that. I mean, what are you going to show? Like people sleeping for fucking like 7 years as they enter the orbit of Jupiter. But that was just a perfect stand-in for the journey, which is why I liked it. But it took me the second rewatch when I was like, all right, dude, let me not be an asshole. And let me put down my phone and put it outside.
I'm not even blaming. I think it's totally fair to say, to go back to Kimmy's response to the question that she got. I think it's fair to say I'm not in the mood right now, or like it's even fair to say maybe I'm not familiar with this type of work. But I really felt like I was like losing my mind. It was like if I had shown somebody a picture of a woman crying and said like, you know, what do you think this woman is feeling? And the person said to me, well, she's not feeling anything. This is a drawing. Drawings don't feel anything. Like the person talking about theory of mind, Aaron. And I don't mean this in a condescending, like you have to have the same experience of art type way, but like it really felt like people were engaging with it as if it were impossible to even potentially extract something from this scene. Not just saying like, I couldn't get anything out of it, which I think is fair. You can say, I didn't get anything out of a scene, or I was too sleepy that day, or whatever. That's fine. But saying that there is no reason to make a scene like this, when I'm with you, I watched that scene, I was thinking about Burton, the scientist who had the experience of Solaris and then returned to Earth and is like trying to figure out, is there a way to make sense of this world? We're sort of seeing, if you know what happened to him, his struggle to connect with, there's like a child in the car that touches his shoulder.
Yeah.
Is it possible to come back to this world that he has radically changed his opinion about? It's alternating between color and black and white, and I think it's forcing you to think about like you're saying, Aaron, what are moments when we are present in our life? What are moments when we are stepping back from our life and sort of not engaging with the world around us? I think there's all sorts of things that you can get out of the scene. It doesn't have to be one thing, but to me, the insult of the frustration was somebody saying like, there is no reason. All you have to do is show a guy driving for 3 seconds. That's the only point of a shot in a film, is to say, this guy is doing this thing now. And
it's very utilitarian is what it is.
Exactly.
Which feels offensive to the artist, right? Or to the director.
I do think that there are certain movies that I think maybe should not be available at your house.
Okay.
I think there's certain. It's the same
we should
way
put
that
the movie Gulag. Like nobody. Like
no, I think they should be. You should have to go to a theater to see them, or it's sort of like certain art pieces, certain works of art. Like you could show anybody Edvard Munch's The Scream, and they would kind of get what's going on there.
Yeah.
But then sometimes some other works of art, you need the little thing on the wall that tells you a little, like something about what the artist meant, or the interpretation. You need a little context. You need a little, this is going to be different than your experience, and here's like a way in to maybe try to get this thing.
What it does is it makes you realize that you're not watching a movie, right? It makes you realize that you're not watching something that's passive, and it makes you actually sort of, I mean, not to say that art should do any one thing or the other, but I feel like, at least it should connect to some larger universal human experience, right? And I feel like a lot of people nowadays were so diseased because that universal experience has been replaced by instantaneous, social media and screens and all that shit, you know what I'm saying? And something that's so instantaneously gratifying that you don't spend the time like, okay, I know this sounds really fucking stupid, but I'm a reader, right? But at the same time, I'm on my phone a lot. So sometimes when I like go back to reading books, I'm like, man, for a minute, I'm like contesting in my mind. Yeah. Like I have to read a sentence or a page. Oh God, I'm so diseased over and over again because I'm just like, you know what I mean?
Same thing happens to me. I also like, I don't know if you guys do this. Sometimes I practice being bored. Like I'll be at the doctor's office or something, and I just practice sitting there for like 5-10 minutes, like just like looking around the room, or like looking at the clock, people watching, or like just getting very familiar with like dentils of the shitty linoleum or whatever.
Or let me pick up Jet Magazine or some shit like that. You know
okay, yeah. I mean, if I'm so
dentist office in Atlanta, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
From 1995, by the way.
How does it look this good? How is it in this good shape? Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's a yellow page.
Yeah.
But like, I think one of the things, and even people had trouble with this movie at the time, like the reception of this movie.
But people in the Soderbergh room, people had trouble with the new one. That made me feel even crazier. I was like, what is going on?
I had the great fortune to see this projected a couple weeks ago. They were showing. They showed it. This one. This movie, they showed it. They showed a DCP of Soderbergh Solaris at Vidiots here in LA. Like a month and a half ago.
Oh shit, that sounds awesome. Holy shit.
I had seen it once before. Like
how long ago did you see it?
Probably in 2020. Like probably thought, let me check this one out after watching the Tarkovsky, and I was disappointed by it. I think because the Tarkovsky had so much depth, and also I probably like wanted to
subtlety and weirdness,
Yeah, and then this time watching it again, first of all, on a screen, big screen in a theater, it's dark, it's quiet. It has my full attention. I really appreciated it a lot more. Also, I knew kind of like what to expect. My expectations had been lowered, so then they were surpassed.
Yeah.
But it also just like, there are so many movies, not to get too letterboxed about it, but I feel like a theatrical experience can probably add a star to almost any movie.
100%.
Because it just demands your attention. But the same, I think one of the things that is so fascinating to me about comparing the two films is that like Soderbergh manages to make his 110 minutes or something.
115, I think. Yeah.
Okay, 115 minute movie feel like so slow just relative to Ocean's 11 or something. Like it's him. He's doing his version of Tarkovsky, and it manages to feel like glacial.
It's contemplative. Yes, glacial.
Yeah.
It's contemplative and glacial. Dude, there's a scene where I think George Clooney's Kelvin character is walking towards, I guess his crib, his apartment. And it's just a shot of him just walking in the rain, you know? And the shots of him and the actress's name, his
Natasha
wife.
McElhone.
Yes, who is in fucking what's that movie with fucking David Duchovny? No, that
she's
show
on Californication.
Yes, David Duchovny. Yes,
and David Duchovny is in Soderbergh's the movie we covered previously, which I was thinking the whole.
Which one's that?
Full Frontal. It's like
I've never seen Full Frontal. Is
Yeah,
that a Soderbergh movie?
Not many have. Yeah,
it was like a sort of an odd digital video like experiment with a bunch of people.
That sounds
like
weird as fuck. I'm not gonna watch it. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
It's kind of good.
Yeah, it's fun. I think it's surprisingly good.
You get to see Blair Underwood rap at Julia Roberts about the Pelican Brief.
I have to write this. What's it called again?
Full Frontal.
All right,
no nudity in it,
me
unfortunately.
I have to watch that. Okay.
I will. I'll hook you up.
No, but you're saying George Clooney's walking in the rain to his.
No, I'm just agreeing. I'm just agreeing with what Jake was saying. It's like it's very contemplative and glacial, but it's like, you know, it's like, man, God, what can I think of an example of? Man, I don't want to bring up a stupid example, but like it's like sort of like I think Soderbergh recognized. I mean, what I understand is that he wanted to make this film closer to the novel, right?
Which
Stanislaw Lem hated the original. Apparently, he hated the changes that were made, right?
I think what's weird is that I think my reaction to Soderbergh's Solaris is what Lem describes feeling about Tarkovsky's Solaris, which is like this is a movie about relationships, about humans, about like human connection, not about all the stuff I was concerned with.
Tarkovsky, part of the reason Tarkovsky makes Solaris, first of all, is that Andrei Rublev took a long time and cost a lot of money, and it was like, it's really funny to think of Tarkovsky making like a commercial decision, but he was like, this is a known entity, it's a science fiction movie, and like most film will probably like approve this quickly and I can get something out. But Tarkovsky wanted, another reason that he cited was that he found 2001 to be too like technologically obsessed and not to be enough about like humanity, which I think of 2001 as like having so much to do with like what it is to be a human being.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny.
What's funny is that he sees it as Star Wars, and then he famously kind of disliked his own Solaris because he looks at it and he thinks like, I was spending too much time on this like sci-fi crap, basically, which is so funny because total there's got to be like 3 minutes of sci-fi content.
I mean, honestly, if you look at 2001, I mean, what I appreciated about 2001 especially is sort of like just this. I mean, the technological sort of. I mean, forget the special effects, but just actually like there's that scene where that guy's running in the rotating space station, and like when you watch it, and then when the camera shifts. And you see that he's running along the walls, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think what a lot of people were kind of like maybe upset about or maybe criticized or maybe like Lem himself did with either I don't know if he was alive to comment.
I think he was actually.
He also disliked this one. He died in like 2006 or something. But he disliked this one as well. Yeah,
but it's like I think that someone had commented on Twitter because I've been posting about it because I rewatched both films twice actually before because I had enough time. Didn't read the novel though actually, which I wish I did so I could talk about it more in relation to his original
vision.
A
little bit of it. Ian, did you read the novel?
I did, yeah.
You did? Okay, we will talk about that. But I just think that I think that people were complaining about the fact that the book does not go so much into, the why what's happening. As one character says in Solaris 2002, if I explain this to you, I think not Gordon, but the other, not Gordon, the black Viola Davis.
Viola
right?
Davis, yeah.
No, it's not Viola Davis.
Gordon.
It's actually, the other, it's Viola Davis is Gordon. It's the other, it's the white guy.
It's Snow.
Josh Hart.
It's Jeremy Davis.
Yeah.
Jeremy
Snow,
Davis.
Yeah.
Who's that actor? I kept thinking he
Jeremy
was
Davies. He was on Lost. He played Daniel Faraday on
on
Lost.
Justified. Okay. My beloved Justified.
Oh, he's great. I think he's really good in the movie.
Yeah. I did like that because he's like, yeah. So he's just like the whole time he's like, yeah, I'm fucked. He's like, yeah, I'm pretty fucked. But he was like, oh, if I explained to you what happened, you wouldn't understand what happened, right?
Yeah. Right.
And I think a lot of people, and maybe this is why Lem was upset, because it's not so much about the technological science fiction effects, right? It's not so much about which you cannot create this in film, I think, the way that a writer can. The sort of ambiance, right, of melancholy, which I do think the Soderbergh film did, right? But of melancholy and thoughtfulness, right? And glacial. I really like the word that you used that word, Jake, because it is very glacial.
And I want to be clear that I'm not using it like pejoratively. I'm using it glacial,
positively.
like the awe that you would feel looking at a glacier.
It's contemplative. Like, you look at this shit past you and you're like, how can I at one look at this huge object, which has probably existed for thousands of years, and condense my own experience, right, of seeing this thing into an entire history, right? And this film is able to kind of do that, but I could see why he was maybe upset, because I think that it did away with a lot of, and I haven't read the book, right? But it's more like the more that they try to understand it, the more they don't understand it.
You mentioned the epistemological limits of like trying to understand something that thinks differently. Like we are bears to this alien world, right? That you're describing here, and saying like, that's what Lem was really interested in. Is like, how would you communicate with something that doesn't have our biology, doesn't have our history, like has no common language? How would you even, be able to share concepts with something like that? And I think it's funny that you mentioned like the difficulty of trying to communicate that. There's a scene in Tarkovsky's version where Burton, the scientist who goes and comes back, is like sitting. It's a very anti-cinematic scene where there's like a video of him sitting in whatever, like the Soviet equivalent headquarters, trying to explain what he had seen to a bunch of people who are basically just like blowing him off. There's a joke about like, when people mention Burton's report, it's considered polite to laugh, right? It's sort of like he's like a joke. This guy,
which can I also mention as well. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's like also filmed. It's filmed in a weird way where when you're watching it, right, or watching it through the screen of when they're seeing it, right? Yeah, it's black and white. But then it cuts back to color, and it's very disorienting, right?
But I think it's beautiful because I think so too, because it's making it so clear how difficult it would be to communicate, even as one human to another human, this experience. And
100%.
I think it's like to use that type of anti-cinema of like, there's nothing cool about it. There's nothing beautiful in that scene. They don't cut to images. So Solaris, it's just this like boring middle-aged guy trying to tell people about something that is like sublime or like earth-shaking, and it just lands totally flat. And then, like you're saying, Aaron, we get the additional dimension of Kelvin watching this on a screen and also feeling like, what does this idiotic fool want? And then it has sort of political ramifications also.
Experience. I mean, it's not a body experience, but I also feel like too was, if I can say, which I feel like was sort of this, and maybe it's not that low-key, but sort of a criticism of not just the Soviet Union and it's sort of bureaucracy, right? And it's sort of it's stilted sort of authority, I guess. I don't know how else to say it. But like also just like you're saying, Ian, so like how can you explain this thing unless you've experienced it? And I will say, I mean, we'll talk about it, but that's grief and loss, I especially like the Soderbergh, what we're talking about now, that version, because it was filmed in a way that was, or done in a way that was more where it wasn't fucking over 2.5 hours long, with my diseased brain. But I seriously though, I'd lost my dad, right? About 6 years ago. And, I had friends who tried to console me And I just kept thinking and never told him because I'm not a fucking asshole. Someone's trying to be nice when your fucking dad dies. And I kept thinking, like, you don't know what it's like until that happens to you, right?
Yeah.
And not that I wish that upon anyone, right? But like, and this is the thing about this whole entire like movie is that Clooney's character, Kelvin, right? I mean, at first he's like, yo, I know this is like he says, I'm awake, right? For himself
ground
to recognize.
Himself. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. To ground himself, exactly. And to ground himself. But then you understand that, like, oh, there's no way that you could explain this to someone who hasn't. And I think the Tarkovsky film did that in such a way in that scene you were talking about, Ian, when he's like watching this guy explain, right? And everyone else is like, all these Soviet bureaucrats are like, oh, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, explain yourself. He's like,
they're basically like, we're going to cut funding to this program. That's the only thing we're thinking about.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh, you saw a giant child outside of your spaceship or something? Yeah. So,
Jake, do you want to give us a tiny bit of production context? Then we'll do for the listeners a little bit of summary.
Yeah. Real quick production context. So Solaris is the Tarkovsky. The novel is like beloved. It's often considered one of the best science fiction novels ever written. Oddly, the most read version of it in the U.S.
It's like hated by Lem and his family.
It's a translation into English of a French translation from the original Polish, and which is one of the reasons why Lem hates it. I don't know why. There are people who speak Polish in English.
There's the Bill Johnston, which is apparently everybody likes. That's the one that I tried to read. Yeah.
Can I just say, if you guys have a translation that you think I should read, because I want to read the novel, send it to me after.
I can shoot you a very legal document that I acquired.
Continue, Jake. Sorry about that.
No problem. So the film also is beloved. Tarkovsky is he's like the main Russian or Soviet filmmaker after like Eisenstein that people in the West have any interest in. And so the film is, it's like it's regarded as a classic. James Cameron, Big Jim, he gets the rights and really wants to do it. And it's one of those, there's a couple different James Cameron projects that percolate for a long time. And like he was going to make Spider-Man for a long time. He was going to do it would have been, I believe, young DiCaprio as Peter Parker and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Strange Days. Yeah. He actually ended up writing that.
Right.
Exactly. Which was one of my favorite sci-fi films, by the way.
And then Alita Battle Angel, he was developing for a long time, which then ended up being
fucking amazing. But okay, I'm sorry. That movie.
We got 3 fans on the show. Don't worry. I love that company. Yeah.
That is an official opinion of the show.
I love that movie.
So then. I think maybe independently, Soderbergh just reads the book and thinks like, I have a take on this. So he writes a screenplay that James Cameron and Lightstorm like. The Lightstorm logo always makes me feel very powerful emotions as a strong Avatar fan myself.
It's very nostalgic for me.
Yeah. So he writes this. He originally has Daniel Day-Lewis in mind for the lead.
Honestly, I don't object to this.
DDL,
I think it's a fine
decides
casting.
He's going to do Gangs of New York instead.
You call him DDL?
DDL, yeah. Well, we're close.
I cannot think of BBO, but okay, yeah, DDL. Okay.
Imagine if he got one for a role.
In DDL with a BBO? Okay.
Yeah. He gets cast as Drake, and he gets a BBL for the part. But then he decides to do Scorsese's Gangs of New York, and so Clooney, who has a production company with Soderbergh, he reads the script and says like, I think I have like a take on this, and so they decide to make it together. It is Soderbergh shoots it as well. He's the camera operator. I think it's some of his most gorgeous camera work. Yep. I think it looks incredible. The Cliff Martinez score. Cliff Martinez is a frequent collaborator of Soderbergh's. I think the score is excellent. Soderbergh is one of the people who he's already worked with Viola Davis a couple of times, and she's like, I thought of her as like a baby here, but she's like 35.
Is this
or
one
something.
of her first? I was so surprised when I saw her because in this film
it's early in her career.
Okay,
but
early in her career,
but she's like 35. I think she was sort of working away, like trying to get big parts for a while, and then like
also,
doubt.
can I just say that a black woman as on that space station with like, you know, like, I mean, we don't know who else. I mean, we know that you know, when Clooney's character enters the morgue, I guess, right, and he sees like these two white guys. I don't know, for some reason, for me again, like I just like you know, I keep mentioning or I've mentioned like, you know, like Afrofuturism. I don't know if I did, or like, you know, black characters and like sci-fi, but like how her being the only woman on that ship, like that scene when Clooney, when what's his name? You said Davies,
Jeremy Davies. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah,
he's like, well, she won't let you in the room, and I was like, well, like, yeah, bro, because she the only woman on this shit, bro, and then she black, dog, and then she black, and I was like, dude, I don't know. For me, that was like, I don't know. That was just, I think that it being played, her role being played by a black woman especially, lent to this sort of like a hostile environment that I immediately trusted that something was wrong, you know?
Right.
Not because she was black, but just because of the...
Well, no, it's fascinating.
You know what I mean? Yeah, there's like there's a relative vulnerability compared to the three white guys in the Tarkovsky.
Right. And the three old Russian guys.
Right.
She's also the one who gets to talk about DBA. We'll get to that. But like, she's the one who gets to talk about like privatization of space and like the extraction of resources.
The Solaris project.
I think it's a cool choice.
So, let's do a very quick plot summary. If you've seen the Tarkovsky film, you know the basic structure is the same. There's an earthly. There's a guy who lives on Earth who's a psychiatrist,
an earthly man,
an earthling. He gets hired.
Yeah.
He gets hired to, he's like basically recruited to go check out what the fuck is going on at this space station orbiting there's a planet called Solaris that is the subject of study. In the Tarkovsky film, it seems very, you know, Soviet style. It's being studied to see what it can teach us about humanity and like the furtherance of mankind.
And it's been, and sorry to interrupt, in the Tarkovsky, it's been like decades, but there's very little progress about the research. Yeah,
that's one of the things that's fascinating about the novel is like it's set like 100 years after they've been studying the planet.
Solaristic sort of like
he talks
stalled.
About like the different like academic arguments in the field of solaristics. Anyway,
it's a very Soviet. That's a criticism that feels very like of someone who's like an anti. I mean, did Lem grow up in Stalin's Soviet Union?
He was in Poland, like Soviet controlled Poland.
But he was like an expat.
He was satellite. So he would be like, dude, like, this is a not just bureaucratic but authoritarian, which
he was chafing.
Yes, you could disagree whether or not. We're not getting into that, but like, I would. If I lived there, maybe I would too.
Exactly. And then in the Soderbergh, it's you know, to talk about the zeitgeist, to update it, it's pretty clearly being like surveyed for resource exploitation.
Yeah, it's like speaking of prescient, it's like a SpaceX or Blue Origin style, like
or the RDA, the bad guys from Avatar, who are exploiting the planet of Pandora.
Exactly.
So they've lost contact with this space station, and they want to send a psychologist to go figure out what happened. They've already sent security forces, and they didn't hear back. So he goes to the space station where everyone is acting really weird because it turns out they've started to see people from their lives who have shown up on the space station, and Kelvin sees what they call them guests or visitors. I think visitors.
Or also dead or estranged. You know, it's either
there's like
it's highly emotionally charged. Seems to be that.
And so Kelvin sees a manifestation of his wife Rhea, played by Natasha McElhone, who killed herself after we learn that she got an abortion without telling him, and he was upset and said, like, you know, I'm leaving. And in the few hours it took him to cool off, she killed herself. Yeah,
I don't want to get too into it. God, I don't want to get too into it because I don't even know how to parse this out. But I noticed the thing. So when there's a scene of a red pill and a blue pill, you know, where
you're right.
Where this came out after the Matrix, right? So I don't fucking know if there was any osmosis, right?
I mean, OSMOSIS Jones. I think I mean, I think
Soderbergh. You brought that back. What the fuck? I forgot about that. Go ahead. Sorry.
Soderbergh is like, he's a real jokester. So there's a very solid chance that he put that in there.
Seen him
kind
do
of
this
as
type of thing in other films. So it's not.
So does she take
like
the
a
red
wink.
pill or the blue pill to get in the book? I mean, the point is that yes, I just want to break that up. But yes, continue.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Great observation.
Sorry.
Yeah, and so he starts to kind of like see a chance to make things right, but she realizes that she is not his wife. She like figures out that she is the physical manifestation of his memory of her, but she's aware of that. It turns out that these they figure out that these visitors are like projections of Solaris, the ocean of Solaris, which is like a giant mind.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's having a different reaction to this. He basically wants to like try to give it a second chance. Viola Davis's character, Dr. Gordon, wants to figure out a way to kill them.
Who's
and
locked
leave.
herself in the room the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she's sort of having a private experience of this. And then Snow, who we meet listening to ICP,
yes.
and Insane Clown Posse apparently was not compensated for the appearance in the film, which I'm not I'm no fan of that.
Yeah.
Are you serious? The fuck?
Apparently, that's what they claim.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if all the money went to like some lawyer who never told them about it or something. But anyway, talk about a bunch of insane clowns. Am I right? Anyway, the projection of Rhea starts to feel suicidal as well, because like his memory of her is suicidal. She tries to kill herself by drinking liquid oxygen. It doesn't work because she's, not human. And then Gordon develops a basically like matter discombobulator device. Like she figures out a way to zap them out of existence. And Kelvin doesn't want Rhea to do this. She wants to die. And so while he is incapacitated with like a fever, she gets Gordon to zap her, and then the planet
which Gordon knew that she would do anyway, right?
Yeah,
during a previous meeting that she had,
she
which
says,
like his
she's
wife
gonna
was
come
there.
to me.
She was like, she's gonna come to me. Exactly.
Yeah, and then the planet, in response to this, the planet basically starts swelling, and so
it's going.
We learn
not supernova. Okay, yeah,
it's like,
it's
going crazy.
It's not a star, but yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
We learn that Snow actually is the projection who, when he zapped into because he was it was like an identical twin brother, sort of finds himself suddenly existing, and the first thing that happens to him is he is attacked. He kills whoever's attacking him. It turns out it was his twin brother, and he hides his body in like the roof or the ceiling
I just
panels.
love that scene where Viola Davis's character like goes into like I guess I don't know why the controls of the ship are in the morgue.
Maybe it's for ice. I was trying to imagine. Maybe it's for samples or something.
I mean,
who knows?
It was just convenient. It was conveniently directed. I mean, that's all it was really. Like, it made no sense at all. But fine.
Yeah.
And then like George Clooney's character looks up because we see in the beginning he's looking up at the rafter versions of what a spaceship would be, right?
Apparently there's a drop ceiling on this spaceship.
There's a drop ceiling on a spaceship. Sure, whatever, dude. But fine. I mean,
storage space. It's storage space. Yeah.
It's I mean, we have bulkheads, so sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which are analogous to walls, but like he sees the blood, and I don't know. I just want to mention that blew my fucking mind, because I think what this film did that I did not expect is that films are so predictable nowadays, right? Where like when I saw the blood in those original scenes when Clooney's character Kelvin is walking, through the ship and he's seeing trails of blood, and he looks up at the ceiling, and I was like, there's no way that these motherfuckers are smart enough to bring that shit back, right? Right? You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, like, yeah, like I remember seeing that. Like, is anything gonna happen? I immediately forgot about it because I don't give much faith. I mean, like watching movies nowadays, I don't give much faith, right? To callbacks. But the fact that he was like, yo, look, and of course, lo and behold, it's fucking Snow's double sitting up there in the fucking rafters. And we'll get to it when we talk about the end of the movie, but that fucked with me in a way that makes me really feel uncomfortable still.
Yeah.
I mean, Davies'
like,
speech also, like the snow clone speech, I think is very well done, and just like efficiency of like, I woke up, if you saw yourself coming at you with a knife, like what would you do? You know,
it's been really hot here. I could really go for a snow clone, like with the blue stuff on it.
Yeah. If I was in the snow, but also too, like I think I mentioned before that quote, right? Like, or if I didn't, we don't want other worlds. We want mirrors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which the original Stanislaw Lem quote, which if I could read it, y'all, like I love this quote so much. I actually posted earlier because I was just like, dude, I have to read this fucking book, which I have not read. But he says, we have no need of other worlds. We need mirrors. We don't know what to do with other worlds. A single world, our own, suffices us, but we can't accept it for what it is. And I mean, like, that's from the original novel. And, again, in the film, it's like, we don't need other worlds. We need mirrors. But like that really fucked with me in a way that a lot of movies don't,
Yeah. But I mean, like it gets to, this is sometimes happens on the show, the secret third question, where one of us, had a question we wanted to ask, but it comes up naturally in conversation, which is, that brings up the matter of like, what do we want from science fiction? Do we want new possibilities, or do we want a sort of fresh perspective through which to look at the issues that we deal with? And that's like, Star Trek famously does this very well, or did this very well. But then you also have things, Star Trek, there's all the many people who like went into science fields because they loved Star Trek as children and like wanted to make a tricorder or whatever.
Right.
And I think this belongs firmly in the science fiction as effective vehicle for like looking at real life experience from another angle.
Right.
And like what, there's no possible way for your memory of a person to gain physical form and sentience and like realize it's based on your memory and get mad at you about that. Like that's not a thing that can happen, but it's a very effective way for us to like think about how we actually engage with other people.
Right.
Yeah,
100%.
There's a really wonderful Ursula K. Le Guin introduction to her novel Left Hand of Darkness, which I think is great.
Good. Yes, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And she says the same thing. She says, like, I know there's some science fiction writers and some science fiction fans who are interested in like futurism, what will happen if this happens, what would happen if we lived in a different world. She says, like, I'm not interested in that. Quite frankly, that's not the science fiction that I write. My science fiction is just, can I alienate me and you, the reader, from something in our world in a way that makes you think about it from a fresh perspective, like 100%. Re-encountering this. And I think I agree with you, Jake, that is what the film does so well. And that's why I will always defend the Tarkovsky Solaris and I think the Soderbergh, but the pace at which it goes and the way that it forces you into the position of people in the film instead of just talking about the idea of something. I think it is like very invested in you sharing the experience of Kelvin instead of just saying like, imagine this, that this thing happened to you. It's trying to say like, be Kelvin for a moment, watch him pant and look at his dead wife and like, be in his mind for a second and think about, like you're saying, what would it mean to see a memory of somebody? How would it make you question what makes us human, or what's the significance of having lived an experience versus just remembering an experience, which is what we all do now anyway, right? All of our past is just memories. So how functionally different is it for somebody to just be born with those memories? All these questions, I think, to me, they become more potent because we are living in them for a while, at least. And I think that's very effective.
Does a memory become less real because of the way you imagined it, right?
Yeah.
Like Rhea's character says to him, she says that the way that you imagined me, right, and the way that I look, right, I was suicidal, right? Which Rhea's character, Rhea's Solaris analog, right? The image, right, for Kelvin's character that the Solaris planet creates, she ends up, as you mentioned, Jay, she ends up committing suicide by drinking liquid oxygen. And once she recovers, like regenerates in this like kind of really dope, amazing scene where George Clooney's character turns her over and you see like, this, Joker-esque like Glasgow half smile, right? Half Glasgow smile, and, she regenerates, and she says after she does, she says that like, well, I was suicidal, right? You remember me this way.
Right.
And again, I think that Ian, is where you were saying, I think is so important, because I think like a big thing about science fiction to me personally, as J.G. Ballard, again, one of my favorite writers, what he says is that science fiction isn't necessarily about predicting the future, right? It's about almost anticipating the now. I'm not phrasing that correctly. I wish I had the quote in front of me, right? But when I say anticipating the now, I think that science fiction, I should say this, put it this way. I think science fiction is more adept than any other genre at putting up a mirror, right? To use this kind of like a metaphor that this film uses often, right? And the original book, I think science fiction puts up a mirror to contemporary society in which whatever era it came out in, because you understand that it's not so much about like flying, a car, or robots, right? I think that it's, I don't know if it's Hugh Gernsback, who actually was the editor of Amazing Science Fiction, which problematic views with retrofuturism. It's very kind of fascist in a way, actually. But like, he said that it's not about imagining, the invention of the car, but of traffic. You know what I mean? What are the social ramifications and social, political, social outgrowths that come from technology? And I think this film didn't even just do that, right? This film talked about grief, right? It was so grounded in such a way where it's like, dude, like if my dad, was to come back alive and I saw him the next day, what part of me would say that this is not real? And what part of me would say that I accept this because this is what I wanted? Because again, as that quote I've read from the original novel, that the planet that we live on now does not suffice us, right? Or it suffices us, but we wish it was different, right? Grief and death are these inescapable human concepts that we think about all the fucking time. Right. But to lose a human being and a person, right? And to want them back, and if they came back and they weren't even the same person, right? Which is the thing about sentience and will, right? And consent. Like, Rhea comes back and she says that I don't have any recollection of these memories. That's such an amazing concept, right? In contradiction. To remember things, but to not actually having remembered live them. That is horrifying. That's
to
being
feel
trapped
them
in
as
amber.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is maybe a stupid.
No, nothing stupid, brother. We're cooking right now. Go ahead.
I'm going to test that theory.
No, it's stupid, motherfucker. I'm cutting. No, good. It's not stupid. I'm joking. Sorry, I'm fucking up.
It made me think of when you would rent an N64 game from Blockbuster and somebody else's save would be on it.
I actually understand what you mean. Yeah,
no, that's a really good example. Holy shit!
It felt obscene. First of all, it felt like I cannot open this. That would be like, finding someone else's like stash of personal photos. Or, even though it's like they also rented like
Legend
Conker's Bad Fur Day or whatever.
They've lost against his boss as many times as I have. But in what ways?
Exactly. But thinking about the Soderbergh he's talked a lot about being very interested in memory. There's a couple other films where he deals with it, specifically The Limey. There's a lot of editing and even like visual touches that reminded me a lot of The Limey, like the sort of things he does with light. Like I feel like he's tapping into some of those ideas and using cinematic language to make us feel like we're remembering this, where there's a lot of cutting between timelines. But then one of the things that in that scene that you're talking about, Aaron, that one of my favorite parts of this movie is when Kelvin first sees Rhea. He's in bed and he like rolls over and looks at her, and he jumps up out of bed like freaked out and goes over to the other side of the room and is basically like trying to convince himself he didn't see this.
He's like, I'm awake.
He's not looking. He says I'm awake, but he's not looking, and we see him not looking, and the camera is at Rhea's eye line. So like he's not looking at us.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is really fascinating. Can I do my big brain read? I have a big brain read.
Yeah, yes, please, brother, please.
Okay, so a little bit of context. Soderbergh does some, especially when he retires, he does sort of a soft retirement in like the early 2010s. It doesn't take, but one of the things he does is he re-edits. He does like fan edits of notable works and puts them on his website for free. One of them is a fan edit, or is his edit of 2001, which I haven't watched, but I read an article about it, who the author of which escapes me, but I'll put it in the notes. But apparently he re-edits it just kind of like as an experiment. And he edits it in such a way that it appears like the whole thing is being maybe remembered by Hal. Like Hal comes in earlier, and a lot of it is centered on Hal, and I'm thinking about Soderbergh as physical camera operator, and Soderbergh as the guy who made Sex, Lies, and Videotape, which is a movie about like distancing yourself from other people with a video camera and then jacking off about it. Like, clearly he's thinking about like his position as a camera. There's an interview where Natasha McElhone talks about how the love scenes were like very comfortable because it was just her and George and Steven with the camera. So he's also like a ghost in here. Right. And I was thinking about object-oriented ontology, which
always good to do.
Is a
object-oriented ontology?
Yeah. So this is
Triple O?
Yes. OOO. This is a very wacky school of metaphysics.
First of all, we must thank Brian Kim Steffens.
Yes. So a professor that Ian and I had in college named Brian Kim Steffens just got really into this wacky school of metaphysics, mostly because it helped him to understand Full Metal Alchemist. That's real. But okay, so it's invented by
a new theory to understand anime. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So it's invented by this guy named this guy named Graham Harman, who and I don't like metaphysics. For me, it doesn't hold a lot of like it doesn't have doesn't offer answers to a lot of the questions that are most pressing.
It only
for me,
begs more questions, in my opinion.
It's not
but that's fine.
It's not my
well.
favorite thing, but I did take a class on this. So, object-oriented ontology is like building on some Heidegger stuff. It is apparently a rejection of post-Kantian correlationism, if that means anything to anybody. Basically,
that's philosophy, motherfucker. It means shit to me. No,
I believe you. So basically, it posits a new conception of everything in existence. So everything is an object on equal footing. Human, non-human, sentient, non-sentient.
So if you're looking at a brick, right? If I'm looking at not even like a house, right? Which, you would constitute or familiarize with a social setting of human beings. I'm talking about looking like at a leaf, or like a rock on the ground.
You're exactly right.
Existential setting that I am, right?
Yeah.
Where it might have perception.
Exactly. But most crucially, its relationship to other objects is on equal footing.
Nigga. Go ahead.
It's on equal footing with two humans' relationship. So like the relationship between a rock and the dirt that it's sitting on is no like greater or lesser than my relationship to you in this conversation.
And it's not trying to say that those things have consciousness like ours necessarily. It's saying that the addition of consciousness is irrelevant to how meaningful those things are.
I guess what it would be more a relationship of well, I mean, I don't know. I'm just assuming, but like of matter, right? In the material world, right? And sort of like this sort of like, I mean, if I look at a rock on the ground, sitting on the ground, and I'm a human being in my neighborhood, who the fuck am I to tell the rock that the ground it's sitting on or the backyard it's sitting on is not the entire world, right?
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And also that, so similarly, like the idea that the rock's relationship to the ground it's sitting on is somehow like less meaningful than my relationship to my friend Steven from school, you know, like it's there.
Who was also a rock.
Is that Stephen Jobs?
Stephen R.
With a P.
Stephen R. Yeah.
With a PH.
So here's where it gets Solaris. And I'm going to read from Graham Harman here. If the human perception of a house or a tree is forever haunted by some hidden surplus in the things that never become present, the same is true of the sheer causal interaction between rocks or raindrops. Even inanimate things only unlock each other's realities to a minimal extent, reducing one another to caricatures. Even if rocks are not sentient creatures, they never encounter one another in their deepest being, but only as present at hand. It is only Heidegger's confusion of two distinct senses of the as structure that prevents this strange result from being accepted. Did I mention that I read this in college? So, basically,
brother, you know what
saying,
I was doing in college? I was smoking weed and not getting pussy. The fact that this stayed with you. No, I'm kidding. No, that's.
No, I mean, my experience was very different. I didn't smoke weed. So, what he's saying basically is that, like, even when you have a relationship to another object, you're not interacting with the whole being of that object. You're only sort of having a tangential relationship at the point where you interact.
Right.
So here is my Solaris read on this. In a relationship, I'm not talking about like an interpersonal relationship. You're interacting with a distinct person with their own thoughts and impulses and self-concept and all that stuff. And that relationship is mediated through your relationship to the idea that you have of that person. So like, right. I'm talking to you right now, Aaron. I see an image of you. I have a sense of your thoughts, your wants, your positions, but
a theory of mind,
essentially. Yes, but I can't know the wholeness of you. There's like I'm interacting with what he would call a caricature, like a caricature without the connotation, like it's a rough sketch.
You could call it an avatar if you want.
Yeah. Right, I would love to. Right. I see you, as they say in Avatar. So, in our relationship is mediated through like the idea of one another that we have, and that's how we can surprise each other in ways that are good and ways that are bad. Like I could turn out to have an interest that you didn't know about that's exciting, or I could turn out to have like a bad opinion that you couldn't have guessed. And so that's where the real person conflicts with like the idea person,
because there's these unexpected crevasses, if you want to say, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These fissures
are complicated, yeah.
Right, exactly.
And so in Solaris, that idea person, that rough sketch, is made flesh, but then also knows that it is a rough idea made flesh, and it gets mad.
Like so heady.
That incompleteness is hurtful. And it's like if you were able to know and specifically I think more like if my girlfriend were able to know exactly how I conceive of her, how I perceive her, like I don't think she would be thrilled. My goal is, of course, to reduce the disappointment she would have as much as possible.
Exactly. Well, the goal, I think, not to cut you off, I think the goal is I think the thing about sentience, man, and what I especially love about this film is like, like, you realize that what sentience really is actually obfuscating, or maybe purposefully or otherwise. I don't know. Like, I think a lot of the time it's not purposeful, but it's sort of like, if I don't understand myself and who I am and my own relationship to the world, right? A lot of it is like sort of obfuscating like that inner self that I can't even explain to other people, or maybe changing it in a way that's more palatable to other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like what's terrifying about this thing, I mean, that's why it's like, I guess the greatest gift, I saw a tweet actually that was really funny, where somebody said that like, they were thinking about why human beings are so lame, because like we don't have like, we can't see thermal vision, or we can't see UV rays or anything like snakes, right? They can sense heat and shit, right? It's like, oh, actually, we have sentience, right? Which is like equally like amazing, right? Which actually, I will say that that's a whole other conversation. But we have a sense of our own mortality, right? Right? And I think that is most terrifying, because you realize that when you have a sense of your own mortality, that I don't know how to explain this. I'm trying to like bring this in a roundabout way, because it's actually confusing for me to understand, is that you understand that other people can perceive you in a way that is like simultaneously finite, but also could possibly be infinite in a way, you know what I mean? Where people can see you as like, oh, like this person's not only fixed, right? But also I can't represent myself in a fixed way to anybody at all, right? You know what I mean? Like someone might see me, you know what I mean? Like someone might see me in one way, but I also have no control over that, right? There are these infinite me's that flow out of like the person that you fucking see, the person that I think I am. And what's terrifying about this movie, kind of like actually in a really like cosmic horror way, is that Rhea's character understands that she is a construct, right? So she doesn't even have the autonomy, or the agency rather, right? To define herself, because she's only defined in Kelvin's image, you know? which is being a fucking slave. Which is why wouldn't you want to fucking kill yourself, you know?
And so looking
I hope all that made sense. I know that was crazy.
It totally did. Yeah, but like looking at the rest of Soderbergh's filmography, there's a lot of, especially I think there's the kind of the bad husband Soderbergh movies. There's a few of them where he's dealing with his relationship to women and specifically like to his wife, who he split from in like the mid-90s. This difficulty of truly knowing another person. A lot of what Soderbergh talks about himself and what other people talk about is he's like, you know, he's kind of aloof as much as he's like an affable, friendly, funny guy. He's like, you know, never totally feels like a part of any group. And like, that's the character in Sex, Lies, and Videotape. That's the like memory stuff in the Limey. Like the Limey's a man out of place. He's in the wrong place. He's sort of also like out of time. There's a lot of these characters who are like adrift, and even he you know, it's difficult to know another person, and if you want to be close to someone, you have to allow for a lot of trust because there is this like unknowability. And so many of his characters are con men or like deceivers in some way, or actors, performers, which is that's
or
like
agoraphobic, like in Kimmy, you know.
Yep.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
That might be one example, but yeah.
But she's also dealing with like
knowing somebody else through
distance.
Like a tiny,
and not even knowing yourself, right? You know.
Yeah, and then he's also like, one of the things he does best is flirtation scenes, but they're often like flirting between people who don't know each other very well and are sort of pretending that they do, right? Like, there's roles being played, and so
projecting of the avatar, as we talked about.
Yeah, exactly. And so you know, for a political reading, and this is the biggest stretch, I think, but I do think this offers like key to something that has been gnawing at me as we talked about these films, is that Soderbergh films often have this suspicion toward like big business or powerful people. You know, your Aaron Brockovich, your Ocean's 11, they're taking on they're going to knock over the rich guy. The Informant,
which I think he gets a lot from James Cameron. I see a big influence with Cameron with that as well. You know,
but then he also, like in real life, he's I got a lot of ambivalence toward unions, and he's like a and so
kind of a piece of shit politically, but sure.
Yeah, so like I think he's got this like he doesn't want to trust powerful people, but he also doesn't want to trust anyone else. Like,
because how do you know the nigga the union was the same shit that you were, bro?
That's what he said. That's what he would say.
You know, there's a solidaristic thing, but you don't know what that actually means for each
and like,
individual person.
He doesn't have a problem with like the union, but like,
does mean something, but sure.
Yeah, he's like, he doesn't have a problem with the union. He doesn't think it applies to him. That sort of stuff.
Right.
So
exactly. Which it could be a fair assessment. You know, I mean,
yeah. So I think you know, Solaris, to me, Soderbergh Solaris is a movie about a man who. The metaphor that keeps coming up, and I apologize, is that he basically, it's like he's wearing a condom that he can never take off. There's a condom between himself and the world, and if you take that off, it turns out you actually were wearing a condom to prevent you from touching the first condom.
Isn't that like living like, I think, okay, so I want to ask y'all a question. I kind of want to get into this too, because
please.
We were trying to place this film in the beginning, like we talked about trying to place it within the zeitgeist when it came out in 2002, right? And I feel like, okay, so there's a scene in the beginning where he's walking, like in the very beginning of the first few minutes, where he's walking down the street. And I don't know if y'all noticed, but there are background characters who are vaguely looking up, it seems, you know? But like, not really. Yeah. I think like, I mean, to me, it seemed like that, but he's also just walking down the street. And then there's a Muslim woman, like clearly Muslim, because she's wearing like hijab or burqa, I should say, I guess, or hijab, I guess. And she's saying that, you know, you don't know what she's talking about at first, because I guess this is his group therapy session, right?
Yeah,
where he's doing like
I know
group,
exactly
like
what you're talking about.
Therapy. He's doing relationship mediation therapy, and she's like, "Well, I see the papers and I see the news, and I don't know what to believe." And I'm like, "Well, she talking about 9/11? Like, why you made the Muslim woman talk about?" But also, I think that was selling it, because it is sort of this. Yo, man, the cracking, like the lightning bolt of the 21st century, in my opinion, was 9/11, right?
Yeah,
the war on terror, right? That's what formed the 21st century, right? And that's what sort of like formed this this post end of history type of shit. You know what I mean? And this is a Muslim woman telling you that, like, you don't. I'm watching it like, did 9/11 happen in the fucking Solaris universe? You know, what y'all take that with?
Yeah,
Please,
Ian.
What she says in that scene, which is I'm with you, and it's a great scene. First of all, we haven't really talked about cinematography. There's just so many nice Soderbergh shots of like repeated metal patterns and this sort of like
and also
technological construction.
And it's a very please go ahead. Sorry.
So he like pans down into the therapy from this like tessellated ceiling thing, and then you're right, Aaron. It's this woman. Well, it's a man saying like, I am trying to
a black dude, by the way.
You're right. Yeah, he's saying like, I'm trying to forget about this thing, but then every time I start to get better, my wife sort of brings it up and like drags me back into anxiety about it with her.
He's a commemorative T-shirt. He mentions commemorative T-shirts. Yeah.
And then you're right. This Muslim woman says, for me, it's the opposite. The more I see these things, the more I see it on T-shirts, on TV and newspapers, the less real it seems to me. The more removed we get. And I think it's, for me, it was impossible not to watch that and think about Palestine, think about Gaza.
Same.
And think about like, what is the right level of exposure to images that makes something more real to us? I mean, to connect to what you were talking about, Jake, how do we start to interact with something as it is, to use the Heideggerian terms, like with its presentness at hand versus readiness to hand? Like, instead of like, how is this useful for me? Or like, how is this relevant to my life? But rather like, how do I actually engage with this as something that exists apart from me, that has its own reality?
Can I add something real quick? Not that you're mean, but like, not to continue, but like, it's like, where do I end and where does the rest of society begin, right? From that endpoint. Yeah. And how do I factor myself into it? But go ahead, Ian. I'm sorry.
No, you're exactly right. And I will say, and we haven't really, I think it's better this way. It's a better type of podcast. So we haven't really tried to like give assessments of Tarkovsky versus Soderbergh. My feeling, I think overall, is that in some ways, this is the first time that I've watched them in close proximity to each other. And I think that does a disservice to the Soderbergh, because I think it's better as its own film approached independently. Because I think...
Not as a remake.
Right. For me, I would say that Tarkovsky is saying more things in the sense of like covering a greater range of ideas, engaging with a broader spectrum of like possibilities, of concerns. And I think Soderbergh is interested in a few things very deeply and very effectively, grief being one of them, which I think obviously takes us to 9/11 also, this sort of sense of like, how do I reckon with something that maybe I didn't pay attention to or took for granted while it was alive, and now is lost to me?
His dad also died, I think, in like 97 or 8. Yeah. And I think he started working on Solaris. He was working on the script for like a few years. So it's possible
that makes a lot of, I mean, that just, again, like, bringing up my dead dad and like the grief, that was a salient theme in this movie, which obviously to anyone it would be, but just the fact that, well, what if they were still around, I think that makes sense.
One of the things that I think is interesting too is like, it's not just people who have died. It's there's the grief of being on a long space journey where like the sun is alive, he's just on Earth. Yeah.
Right. Snow, he's like this person, I think Snow asked Kelvin's character, Clooney's character, Kelvin. He asked,
it was Gabarian's son.
Gabarian's son. Sorry, Gabarian's son. He asked, like, is he like, who'd you see? Like, is she still alive? And he's like, well, that kid is still alive. Yeah, it's, and that's, I guess that's the thing too. That sort of, and not to derail, but I just want to say, I think that's the amazing thing too, because it's not just about grief in the sense of like loss, someone who's not physically here. It's about being that far away from Earth, right? Being that far away in distance, time, relationship, which you might as well be on fucking Jupiter. You know what I mean? You might as well be on Europa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At that point,
I totally agree. I really enjoy the Soderbergh, but unfortunately seeing them together, one of the things that I missed was the scenes on Earth and the Tarkovsky, which I think are so, so good. And one of the
glacial, as you brought up earlier, Jake, is that
no Tarkovsky scenes on Earth are great.
But one of the things I love about them, I mean, to your point, Aaron, is that Kelvin is like burning his goods. He's basically like having a waking death for this identity, this version of himself that existed on Earth.
Yeah, he's going into the wild mode.
He is. Yeah, he's burning his papers. But a couple things are happening. First of all, he comments like, it's so funny. I kept all these things. I kept like my thesis from college or like my PhD thesis or whatever. I kept these like notes that I just like were useless, that had no relevance to my life. And I think that's usually an experience people have when they actually die. We realize that like, you know, you, Aaron, or you, Jake, you collected all these things that were important to you. The moment you die, they will turn to dust. They will become totally obscure to anybody else.
All these things that I thought were particulates of myself that could composite myself, and like at the end of it, like who am I?
You can't take it with you. Yeah,
and then of course in that same scene, he's talking to his dad, who it seems to me they clearly have this sort of like failed masculine lack of communication where they're trying to connect. It's like now it's too late, right? But they're trying to say to each other things that they probably haven't said for multiple decades. There's a wonderful scene where I think it's his aunt comes out and like looks at the two of them and is sort of like, this is pathetic. Like you guys can't even talk about how much you love each other, like in maybe the last time you'll ever see each other. But I think it's an incredible moment of to what you're talking about, Jake, trying to understand your own life, stepping outside of its utility for yourself, or you know, and then comparing that to something like Hari, who is the Rhea character in the original, or Rhea, and wondering like, well, how different is it to say, okay, just because the relative utility of my life is disappearing, because like you're saying, Aaron, this character is leaving Earth. His utility to everybody else is basically becoming moot, right? He is now just existing in terms or like in relation to maybe 3 other people. And then I think the question is, how different from that is Rhea's existence? I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying, Aaron, about her being a slave, but relatively, like, you know, they're all kind of being narrowed down to like finer versions of themselves, or maybe lesser versions.
It's very utilitarian. I mean, it's utilitarian. I mean, when you're out, if you just the concept that you're out on a space station, you know, orbiting a planet, I mean, your connections to the world that you left are not even just so limited, but just so far beyond the reality that you're actually like facing right now. So it's like, I just kept thinking about like, let me ask you guys a question, man. I kept thinking about like, all right, so what if, you know, I mean, I haven't read the original novel, which Ian, you read the original novel. I did just read the original. So let me ask you a question. I kept thinking at some point, you know, and maybe this ties into the original 1972 film by Tarkovsky, but I was like, if he was to try to leave the planet with her, would she suddenly just dissipate? You know what I mean? Like, was there a proximity thing? Which I feel like, and again, I haven't read the original.
I think that's the understanding. They talk about it being like maintained by the planet, so that if they leave, that the person would disappear.
Also, remember in the beginning when Kelvin's character, I'm saying in the Soderbergh film, when he initially sees her and he tries to leave the room, she says, "No, don't go." Right?
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, that was like sort of like a foreshadowing, like, oh, not only can she not leave, but he can't due to his connection
it's
and
like
his
dependence on somebody else for identity.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. His perception of himself and what he himself meant to him through his relationship with his dead wife, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
God, that's really depressing now. Think about this. Really depressing.
Sure, man.
Never going to get a relationship. I'm never going to get married.
Yeah.
But like, that is, I think, what it seems to me that Soderbergh is reckoning with here is like,
right.
Can I have a relationship with another person, or am I having a relationship with like my idea of them?
Exactly.
And if I leave the room, if I leave the room, like what happens to my perception? My
all
my
these
wife is in there.
No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to make that joke. Are they calling me Edward when I leave the room? No,
I don't think it's wrong.
Sure. What do people think about you when you're not there?
Yeah,
how can you? You know what I mean? Yeah.
I hate being perceived and like thought of.
That's not been my experience of you, but go on.
Yeah. No, I hate being perceived without being aware of it. Okay. Like if someone takes a picture of me, like looking at my phone, like I have a work friend.
Yeah.
I have a work friend who like took a picture of me just like sitting across the room and sent the. I don't know why I said a work friend. It was Zoomer Josh, who's been on the show.
Yeah.
But and it like really bothered me
because that's like taking a picture of a pig at a trough, bro. Like, don't
exactly.
Don't catch me in my like them up, dog.
Well, some of those pigs are quite charming. It was worse than that.
I love pigs. I love pigs.
Me too, dude.
No, they're as smart as children.
I guess I'm revealing a lot, but like it made me think about my ability or like the limits of my ability to know somebody else or to like have a relationship with them on their terms as opposed to my terms.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's like when he wants to stay with her. Let's talk about the ending, because the endings of both films, because in both films the planet basically begins to like expand and it's going to take over the space station, and Kelvin decides to stay. It's more of a deliberate choice in the Soderbergh. Like we see it as a deliberate choice in the Tarkovsky.
In the Soderbergh, don't they try to leave the planet, but they
and then he sort of decides not to. Yeah, he lets
one of the
Viola
great
Davis'
things
character go. Yeah,
one of the great things about this movie is that she is in a totally different science fiction movie.
It's true.
She's like.
But see, that actually borders on kind of a problem for me.
That's that line. Yes,
I actually didn't like that line. I also didn't like the sort of like, I'm not the puppet, you're the puppet. Sometimes it danced close to being like, what if this is all just in the service of like a thriller or like a simple relationship film or something?
Can I just say, it made me feel uncomfortable. I mean, again, like I just have to say, Viola Davis is a black woman. Her saying that, I want to win because I'm human. And I'm like, bro, you a black woman where white people, crackers, wouldn't consider you human. You can't give agency to a planet. I mean, even if you want to escape, you know what I mean? That made me feel weird.
Aaron, I had the same frustration. I was with you. It's sort of like how, I mean, particularly because, to be honest, we've talked in the past about Soderbergh. I think he has several very complex, very interesting black characters in some films, but he had several films in a row where there's sort of an absence of black characters, specifically like
sometimes they can be characters. I'm sorry.
Right? You're right. And
not in like Tarantino way, but like it's uncomfortable.
No, I agree. And then it was sort of frustrating to see. I mean, in the original film, there's so many challenges about like, again, parallels between Earth and space. I think Burton, the scientist, tells Kelvin like, people like you shouldn't be trusted in space. It's too fragile. Like you're gonna do to space what you did to Earth. So we could say that as a climate change thing. But I was also thinking about like a racial dignity of giving consciousness to another person thing. And it was frustrating to have this character be like a pretty weak, I would say like sci-fi tropey person of like, they're just afraid of the unknown. Their thing is like, they just want to kill anything that doesn't seem human or something.
You would hand that role to a black woman, I guess, right? So it's more palatable, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
maybe that was the move.
It's not even problematic. That's not because of the word. It just felt incongruous with what I experienced.
It would have been more challenging to have her say like, like, you know, and of course, not every black character has to be like a voice for the experience of blackness or something.
It does.
I'm happy you said that. Thank you. I'm happy you said that. You're right. You're right.
It comes out. You know, when you have 3 characters total,
right,
and you want to have,
that too.
And you want to have, or 4. You have 4 characters total. You want to have like a diversity of like ethnicity or gender or anything, like you're going to end up having the one person who fits into this category is also like the anxious one, or like the hot one, or the old one. So the thing that I like about that aspect of the Davis character is that we can't, like, it plays into the whole idea of not being able to know or understand other people, where like she's on a totally different, she and Snow are both on such different emotional wavelengths,
right,
that they're like, that's one of the great things about Solaris in the book, and because I got this far in the book, and the Tarkovsky and this one is like, this guy goes on a spaceship to travel to a space station. He shows up and no one is waiting for him. He finds a guy who's there who's like, are you here?
He's like, and then he's like out on meth or something.
And then the next thing he says, the next thing he says to this person who he hasn't seen like another person in months or years,
take a nap.
He goes, can you come back in an hour?
It's so good.
Also, he asked him, do you want to come in? You know what I mean? He's just so lackadaisical. It's kind of
Viola Davis basically being in like iRobot or something, like being in Aliens while he is in a relationship movie.
I mean, to be fair, she was also like, I'm locking myself in my room. See, it's, I mean, that's why it's not so simplistic, because it's like, yo, bro, I would too. I mean, I could look at it as like, like as I said before, like as a black woman, but more so, she is the character who is more skeptical. You know,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Which, if you wanted to look at it in some sort of like, you know, like race-based analysis or even feminist analysis, she's like terrified. She's terrified. She's terrified of the unknown. She's terrified of things that she's been trusted to distrust. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the fascinating things about casting, right? Like, you know how I don't know if you guys know that the script for Alien was written without gender or race like assigned to the characters. So then, like, once you cast, once you cast Sigourney Weaver as Ripley, or once you cast Yaphet Kotto as whatever his character's name is,
Parker.
Like Parker, it adds an element to that, and like, you know, it's the same thing with like, you cast Chris Farley as a character, like it's going to affect what the character is like, as opposed to casting, you know,
it's supposed to typecasting. Yeah.
So it's like there's the sort of the racial, socioeconomic, gender groups that people fit into, and also like their individual personalities. So that's one of the I think Soderbergh in his remakes, both of he remade this movie, he remade a noir film from the 40s as The Underneath. Like, one of the things that he is aware of as like a remake artist is like, you know, if we switch this element up, like it adds an interesting dimension.
I'm
not agree with that. Yeah,
I'm not replacing the original. I'm like,
right.
You know, if you swap lemon for lime in the recipe, like, what does that do?
It affects the. I mean, like it's not just a entire replacement, but it affects the texture, right? And the way that the actor themselves will continue to portray this role, right? Which I do agree with that. I do.
Yeah. So you're right. It's really cool how, like, you know, in the original, there's like a weird old Russian guy being weird by not letting him into his room. But then when it's Viola Davis, like, we can bring all of these other ideas to like,
like, oh, I wouldn't let that nigga in my room either, bro. I get you, bro.
You're on the scary space station, and this like specifically white man shows up to like potentially threaten you.
Where I'm seeing dead. Actually, can I ask y'all a question? Who did? I don't remember, because like, I mean, I watched it twice. I don't even.
The other guy in the morgue.
Who did
well, I think specifically to your
Davis'
point,
character
isn't it meant to be like her past is like an experience of violence, right? Her past. I think that's part of what colors her perspective of this is that like she's not having an experience of lost love. She's having like a revival of trauma, basically.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was like isn't it like a mentally unwell family member or something?
I think. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. But it's and it's
which, as Ian, you said, like a history of violence.
Yeah.
Which, so not to quote the movie, but yeah, history of violence. Shout out to Josh Olson, Andy.
Viggo Mortensen's in there. And he is fully nude, and that's why she won't open the door. But the ending. We're going to talk about the ending.
Yeah.
So Kelvin decides to stay because he wants to he wants to like try to be with, you know, projection Rhea and get swallowed by the planet. He is, I guess, suicidal himself in this way. And at the end, we see him back on Earth, it appears. And then with displaying some of the worst knife skills I've ever seen in a movie, I gotta say. And it's like,
bro, like you never worked in the kitchen, dog.
Diegetically, they're bad knife skills, so he can cut himself, so he can see that he heals quickly now. But he realizes, like, he doesn't even it's not clear to him at first that he is apparently like within the Solaris ocean mind. And then he and Rhea can be together now.
He's living the life that he always wanted to live, the same way that he projected, or his memories of Rhea were what Solaris, the ocean, you know, the sentient planet, used as like, you know, a model for a projection of her, you know, his wife. You know, it's exactly what he wanted, which kind of sounds like hell. In a way, you know.
Well, I think that's interesting. I mean, you guys are so negative on this. You were saying, Jake, that it turns out he must have been suicidal. I think, to me, the takeaway from this is like, for me, it's the same thing when people have conversations about like brain in a vat. Is this a simulation? Whatever. The challenge seems to be like, well, if it were one of those things, then that must necessarily mean that our lives are meaningless, or like it robs this of all essence or authenticity or whatever gives experiences weight. And I guess that's not really my immediate takeaway from those discussions or the end of these films, because I think to me that the interesting challenge is like not a definitive answer maybe, but a question of, well, how meaningfully distinct is this from your experience, right? Like, does it actually change anything?
And what gives your life meaning?
Right.
And like,
is there a difference? If I told you right now in this podcast, like, hey, Aaron, your memories of everything up until now were fake. Sure, that could be destabilizing, but before I told you that, your experience of all those things was just like memory, everything we've been talking about, your interpretation, your extremely skewed perspective of things. And that's going to continue to be true. Well,
but that's the thing about choice. But what if you don't have the choice, though, right?
But I guess I would say as a Marxist determinist that I don't know that there is that much choice anyway. I do think it's important to have an illusion of choice. I think that is like a key way to operate in life. I think. I
mean, it keeps people going.
Right. Yes. Exactly. So I think that's not insignificant to me. I think some people feel like that's a cop out, but I think it's enough to just say we all feel like we are choosing everything all the time.
It keeps you from not like killing yourself every fucking day. You know what I mean? Like, literally. You know what? It's like Ian, I'm happy you brought that up because I rewatched The Matrix recently, and
good film.
The entire. I mean,
come on,
I rewatched and I was like, damn, this shit is still as fire as when I first saw
it. How good it is! Yeah,
it's so crazy.
It's like, but the series, the original trilogy ends where before a resurrection or whatever, it ends where there's a truce, right, where humanity is given a choice of whether or not when to leave the Matrix, right. And, you have to ask yourself, I mean, as a Marxist, it's kind of hard to do this because it's like, I have no choice but to live in the context of the society, right?
Yep.
That was predetermined before I was even fucking born.
Right.
But if I was to have the choice in the virtual reality to leave it, right? Like, would I appreciate that choice or would I resent that choice in the first place because it made me realize that I had no will to begin with? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that he does not even have to contend with that, or actually he chooses. That's the point. I guess Kelvin Clooney's character chooses to stay. And I mean, that's actually pretty fucking powerful. And I think you're right. And I don't think we can dismiss, I don't think it's so much as, and not to get into too of a Marxist point, but that people are sort of repositories, right? For cultural hegemony, right?
Yep.
Or for political control. It's like, well, we can all make the choice, right? I can make the choice to I can't make the choice not to pay my rent, but I can make the choice to be involved in the way that I can, or at least how I can, maybe it's not control it. See, it's just weird because it's like, I can't control shit, but like, I can control my reaction to them, right? Or the small things that I can. And I guess Kelvin just decides to be the master of his own emotions and feelings and his love to his wife. And who am I to dismiss that?
Yeah,
if that matters to him, you know what I mean? I don't know if that made sense, but
it did.
Yeah.
No, it did. Yeah, there's like a very fascinating like Marxist feminist reading of it where he sort of manages to extricate himself from the hierarchy and get himself onto the same sort of level playing field that she's on. Because if he is now sort of an idea person within Solaris, there's no longer this power imbalance that there was.
Right.
And the first thing he does when he sees his dead wife is fucking kill her in the most brutal way.
That's such a good fucking point. That's actually such a good point. I didn't think about that, Jake. That's such a good point.
I get it. He's freaked out, but
right.
He doesn't even shoot her in the head. He puts her in a escape pod to.
He destroys her completely.
The Tarkovsky is so nasty because then he has that big burn on his forehead for the next 2/3 of the movie.
In the Tarkovsky, the rocket ship burns the fuck out of him. And I gotta say,
he's a dumbass because he doesn't realize that there's a blast radius.
Well, he's wearing his little mesh shirt.
Well, he tried to leave. He tried to leave, and then the door closed down, so he couldn't get out.
It's if anybody decides to watch Event Horizon after this, airlock of one of the ships that they're on in Event Horizon is exactly like the Tarkovsky Solaris landing platform thing. It's very similar, and also
it's locked in a closet. They got a rocket shooting out from a closet. Which
there's a weird.
I was like, this makes no fucking sense.
There's a weird platform that goes down under the into the floor.
Who designed this shit like this? But okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a fucking movie. Fine.
It's really cool. And also,
it's really stupid, but it's kind of cool.
Lawrence Fishburne is the captain in
he's so good
Event Horizon.
Hold up, bro. Lawrence Fishburne is in Event Horizon with Sam Neill.
Yep.
Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill.
Why have I not watched this movie? What the fuck
Dude,
am I doing?
it's cool. You should check it out.
Google where that shit at. I could stream that shit right now.
You probably could. But so he manages to. I mean, it's she almost has like a feminist awakening and realizes that like she has been
like Kate Chopin style awakening.
Yeah, awakening and understanding of that she's got all this like internalized misogyny. She is like her like personhood has been constructed by a man.
Yeah, I think it's significant just to back you up here without derailing you that she flashes back to memories of Clooney at a dinner party, like condescending to her, like totally dismissing her.
The scene where there's no sound when she's looking at the other,
that touch.
And
really
it's
nice.
like literally, it's like, oh, dude, like, yeah, bro, that's like when I'm with my boys and we're talking all this bullshit, and I'm with like this fine ass lady that I've met, like meet my friends, and like she just that was such a good fucking scene because when they go back and forth between her memories and his, and the way that she actually perceives things, and when she says that I had these memories, but I don't actually remember experiencing them. Okay, man. Damn, dude. Okay, Soderbergh. Yo, you know what I love about talking about movies? Sometimes I'm like, I watch that shit, but I don't think I really got it until I talk to people about
it. That's
what's
cool, yeah.
But like you're saying, Drake, I think it's even more powerful to think that her recollection is now like, not only like you're saying, Aaron, are those memories not my memories, but even when I was a person, maybe I wasn't that much of a person. Maybe I was having
exactly. I was a projection of what someone else wanted me to be.
Right.
And like the first time, I mean, it's we could read it as like the character knowing this and being cheeky, like playing into it. We could read it as a fairly unenlightened joke. But like when he first meets her, she is holding a locked doorknob in front of her crotch, like
because he actually does ask her about that.
And like it's flirtatious, and maybe she's third wave like weaponizing the male gaze and all this. We get like
a real sad out of sight, basically, like grief style out of sight,
grief
cut
style
to
out of sight,
flirting,
exactly. But like it's she is like an object of pursuit. She's something to be unlocked and understood, and like maybe she's joking around with him about that, or maybe that is a way that Soderbergh or Lem or somebody thinks about women in a certain way.
Right. Well, I want to ask you guys before because we've talked about the ending, but I want to ask you guys one question. What do you think about the music? Because I really, really enjoyed.
Oh, it's incredible.
Do y'all know the? Yeah, go ahead. Ian.
Oh no! I didn't want to cut you off. Finish it.
No. Yeah. I just want to ask. Like, I don't know. I guess I could look it up, the original soundtrack, but I want to know the artist. It was very there. What I liked about again, I'm going to talk about. I don't want to compare the original to the Soderbergh film, but
go for it. Yeah.
What I liked about the original was that there wasn't so much. I mean, this movie came out, the Soderbergh version came out in 2002, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it came out in an entirely different cinematic environment, right?
Yep.
Where it was just like a media ecosystem where it's like, we got to have atmospheric music to make you realize that something important is happening. Yeah. I like the fact that the Tarkovsky film did not have ambient. I mean, it's a Soviet film too, so different sensibilities, cultural sensibilities. Yeah. But I liked it was very quiet. Yeah, but I do appreciate that this film was very quiet. Even the music felt glacial. I have to keep using that word you used earlier, Jake, because
I mean, it's like it's got this the original Soviet film. There was a Soviet television adaptation of it. I don't think
there was in 1968. Yeah.
Which whatever.
I didn't watch that one. I don't watch it.
But that one, the Tarkovsky does use that Bach motif, that like electronically played Bach motif that a few times. But there is, Tarkovsky loves like quiet or like minimal atmospheric sound. This one is a lot more. I couldn't tell if it was like a synthesized or a like highly processed like steel drum.
It is a steel drum.
Or ambient. It is a steel drum. It was a steel drum. You mean steel drum, like Jamaican steel drum?
Yep.
Because my folks from Jamaica, so okay.
All right. But it works incredibly well. Cliff Martinez really brings it.
So Cliff Martinez, he scored Sex, Lies, and Videotape. He scored Traffic, The Limey, The Underneath, King of the Hill, Grey's Anatomy, Schizopolis. Like, he's worked with Soderbergh a ton. And also Contagion. I don't know if I mentioned that one. He's worked with Nick Refn. He, of course, scored a film that Ian and I are quite fond of, Den of Thieves.
Yes.
I've never seen Den of Thieves.
It's great.
Den of Thieves.
Yeah,
Den of
so
Thieves
good.
is good. You're gonna have a good time.
Is that like a heist film?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's Gerard Butler and Ice Cube Jr.
Oh,
O'Shea
all you had
Jackson.
to say was Gerard Butler, bro.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
So-
dude, they made a sequel to it a couple years
They
ago.
did.
It's
They did, yeah.
It's on Apple TV Plus,
It's quite
right?
good also.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. We'll
It's
check it
kind
out.
of like
Okay, we'll check
it's
it out.
like Heat for guys that are on creatine.
That's right.
So
Okay,
it's
I'm gonna
like
check it out.
Meathead Heat. Yeah. I think you'll.
I was
suspect
like,
you'll
is this
enjoy it.
like a The Town sort of ripoff? Like, I didn't know what I was trying to get into.
I mean,
but okay,
kind of,
right?
but like, is that a problem? You know,
No,
like,
no.
I'll watch a rip off of The Town. Yeah.
I would watch multiple riffs of The Town. I love that movie.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, Cliff Martinez also wrote the score for Far Cry 4. Anyway,
Beautiful. Classic
Okay.
score, yeah.
Not the
But
gamer
so-
so much, but okay, cool.
So, I have no idea what it sounds like. I'm sure it's great.
Fuck the gamer. Fuck the game. No, I'm kidding. I love the game.
There is-
Y'all
there
cool.
is,
Y'all
like-
cool.
The score really adds it's unsettling. It's like unresolved. It's
Right.
this noise that you can't quite place, and it's beautiful and haunting, but like, yeah,
Haunting
it's
is the word,
really effective.
Can I read Tarkovsky? Obviously, not talking about this film that he never saw, but I think he describes the use of music in film in a way that seemed to describe this very, very well for me.
Yeah. Can you do a Russian accent?
Yeah, I would be happy to. I think all Russian guys talk like this. Hi. So, first of all, I will say that this is from
Sounds a lot like your Chinese accent.
That's right. It is, yeah. They're close to each other. I will say that first, this is from the great book Sculpting in Time, one of the all-time incredible film books that I think everybody should read. It's the same book where Tarkovsky basically says color is for cowards. If you need color, then you're not really making a movie, which I think is very, very funny. He's like, actually, color makes something less real. Because
I mean, that's why Soderbergh did Raiders. His version of he took all the color out of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
This is also why I like the original Star Trek. I think because was it CBS Paramount at the time? I think it was CBS. Like, they realized that I guess they had a monopoly due to their relationship with the company that made those TVs. They realized that, like, oh, we should, like, and the cameras especially, they was like, oh, we should make this shit in color. And it's like, it made sense in a way where it was like, oh, there's this fantastical far future, right? Which we have to represent in all these garish colors. And it makes it feel like less real. I mean, I enjoy it, but I get what you're saying, though. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So Tarkovsky.
So he says, talking about music and film, he says, the refrain brings us back to our first experience of entering that poetic world, making it immediate and at the same time renewing it. We return, as it were, to its sources. Used this way, music does more than intensify the impression of the visual image by providing a parallel illustration of the same idea. It opens up the possibility of a new, transfigured impression of the same material, something different in kind. Plunging into the musical element to which the refrain brings the being, we return again and again to the emotions the film has given us, with our experience deepened each time by new impressions. With the introduction of the musical progression, the life recorded to the frame can change its color and sometimes even its essence. Which I think is, I mean, come on, man.
I like
come on.
Yeah.
I like it a lot because it's like, it's sort of seeing whether it's music or, well, I guess now you wouldn't say color, but sort of like, oh, you could say color gradations or color correction or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right? It's more about seeing it as like working symbiotically, right, with all the elements of the film, whether it's the story, the cinematography, or even the acting or the story itself, right? Instead of being seen as something that is almost, I mean, my problem with a lot of movies now, I mean, I watch a lot of slop, but it seems like a lot of different elements are incongruous with the whole idea of the film.
Or they may be saying the same thing.
Or they're trying to compete with or compete
Sometimes
with the exact same thing or compete with each other, right? Exactly.
Dude, I mean, talking about slop, I saw Fantastic Four today.
Yo, how'd you like the first step, Shay? How'd you like it?
Yeah, it's honestly pretty good for a Marvel movie. Okay. It's pretty good.
That's contact with the cosmic that changes your perspective on the world, right?
Exactly. I will say a big part of what makes it feel like a real fucking movie is the Michael Giacchino score.
He
fucking tried.
Does he have the choir in it? Because when I listen to like
a lot of choir
Fantastic
stuff, a lot of choir stuff.
I'm not a Marvel guy, but I did like Thunderbolts though. That was kind of.
I haven't seen Thunderbolts yet, but the thing about the thing about Fantastic Four First Steps though is that it takes place in. It's a multiverse. Like it takes place in another parallel universe.
An anti-racist 60s.
Exactly. Literally,
Speaking of the problems of retrofuturism,
they can have it. They can have it be cool in Mad Men and have them have like round TVs and stuff.
Where we see this white guy with a top hat, like, "Hey, nigger," like, you know what I mean? Like, like with a translated accent.
But like their like PR person is played by Sarah Niles, who she just played the Caribbean mom of the young guy in F1.
She's bad as hell. Okay. This old okay.
She's good in both films, but like there's no mention of.
She's an older black woman. She's not bad as hell. She's very pretty.
She's a very beautiful lady. There's no absolutely like no engagement with race in any way. There's no suggestion of any difference in life experience.
Which feels very insidious in a way, but also too like
JFK's black here, and it's fine.
I mean, also too. What else would you think that they would do? I mean, I know we're going to
a fucking silver coated naked Israeli lady just swoops in from the sky.
Who's played by what's her name again?
Julia Garner.
Julia Garner, who is in fucking Ozark.
Yeah,
that's where I know her from. Yeah.
Once you guys see the movie, I have an interpretation of the film that I think is
going to see that movie so I can see the Fire and Ash trailer. That's probably
the Fire and Ash trailer is so good.
Are y'all Avatar fans?
We're big time Avatar fans.
Big time.
Yeah. I got fuck with y'all.
I got Lego Piacon up on the shelf right now.
It's kind of a running thing that when Jake needed to pep up the episode, he would just sort of like bring in Lego Jake from Avatar.
Lego Jake Sully as well. Yeah, no, the Fire and Ash trailer looks so good, and that's Jim Cameron.
They still got that little white boy with dreads, bro. That's fine. That's fine.
They still got Spider.
I don't give a shit, bro. But he's grown up now. He's like growling and bigger. That's cool.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit.
He's like 45. That kid. It took him so long to make those movies. Yeah, he's died of old age.
Yeah.
But
can I just? Okay, go. Sorry.
No, please.
No, I just want to say. Fucking God, what's her name? Edie Falco. She forgot that she even filmed fucking like the last Avatar movie because it took so long to come out. So like when it eventually came out, and she was like, "Yo, I totally forgot. I fucking did that."
Yeah.
Like, Gwyneth Paltrow style. Yeah,
Gwyneth Paltrow. She's like, "I'm in Spider-Man."
Motherfuckers died waiting to see Avatar 2. Like
they
probably got cancer.
Statistically, that's definitely true. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just trying to hold out for the fifth one, and then I'm anyone's.
The seeds are gonna swallow us by then, bro. That shit ain't good. Cameron's gonna wait for some new technology to be developed before he even releases that film.
There is a great post-apocalyptic movie to be made about it's like Children of Men or something, like somebody trying to they're on a boat, you don't know where they're trying to get to, and then it turns out it's the one theater that's still showing Avatar.
The last movie theater in the world.
Yeah, the Search for Awa or whatever the fifth one is called. Yeah.
Great.
The fire Na'vi lady, she could tell me what to do, and I would. Anyway,
I know this is so. Okay, go ahead.
So we're talking about Solaris, which of course I don't think there could be an Avatar without Solaris. It's all part of the grand tapestry of Lightstorm Entertainment.
Yeah.
Do we have any final thoughts on the film?
Yeah, I do. I will say that like now that because I watched it for the first time. I think I said on Stars Cable on Twitter, but I think actually it was like probably Showtime or something. I don't know. But I watched it a very long time ago when I first got into science fiction, before I even was a Trekkie. And I think I didn't really... It was slow and melancholic. And I mean, we've talked about it. It was just like not up to my speed, I guess, at the time. But now that I'm rewatching it for this episode, I would rank it with... and I mentioned this on Twitter too, with Gattaca, which came out in 97, and you guys told me Minority Report same year, where they are and maybe I would include Spielberg's AI, but like I haven't seen that in a while, so I don't know.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't even say. I mean, Contact too. Actually, Contact as well. I would say
big time.
Cerebral stylistic sci-fi. Well, yes, cerebral stylistic sci-fi films. All 4 or 5 of those I mentioned. And this film for me, especially, I think that as someone who not just loves science fiction, but more sort of the space madness, maybe cosmic horror sort of aspect, of deep space stories. I think that this was, and especially given losing my dad, I think this is actually like one of my favorite science fiction films, really. I mean, that's my just like last final thought. I'm actually really appreciative that you guys, and I would even say, I don't know if it's heresy, but I even say that there are some aspects of the original Tarkovsky film that I like a little bit more. The subtlety, the weirdness. Yeah. But I think that this, not even just for an American audience, but it made me want to read the book a lot more than the original 1972 film. And I really appreciate you guys helping me to reconnect and rewatch and really think about and really deep, contextual ways with my own life, with a movie that I totally forgot it even come out.
Happy to see
it. Thank you for saying that. We're really, really glad to have you on, and I mean, you got such a deep wealth of sci-fi knowledge. So the fact that it's on your list of favorites, I think, speaks highly to the film.
Top 5, I would say, honestly, top 5.
Damn, wow.
Yeah. Well, of the 90s of that era.
Sure.
I mean, there's top 5s of eras, but that era. Yeah.
I love this movie. It's got like a growing reputation. It was one of those things that at the time was kind of dismissed, like, what the fuck is he doing? Why is he remaking this? Either you were like, I don't want to watch that boring shit, or I want that boring shit. Why is he remaking the good boring shit?
Yeah.
Right. I think that this movie has it does some. It's beautifully shot. It's beautifully acted. The music is great, and I think it does deepen. Both films deepen each other, like being able to look at.
That's a good way to put it.
Why this movie, this adaptation of the book, does something different than the Tarkovsky. I think it only serves to like enhance both films. It's sort of like The Wages of Fear and Sorcerer a little bit. They're both adaptations
of those,
of the same novel, and they enhance each other. They're both great.
Can I give you a stupid example? I know,
please.
Not to go, but it's like
a stupid show.
It's like, well, no, this is made. No, but seriously, it's like, Superman 1978, and Superman Returns, right?
Sure.
That was the first Superman film that had come out after like Quest of Peace and like 80 something. Superman Returns was trying to remake Superman, the original 1978 film.
Yeah.
I'm happy that Soderbergh did not try to remake like Tarkovsky's Solaris. He said
Solaris Returns,
Right, exactly. He said that I wanted to be actually an original interpretation of which I guess you couldn't really say that about the new Superman movie, which is what I'm thinking about, right? I hate to bring up these slop examples, but it's the idea of like, everything's been done before, brother, man. You know what I mean? There's no new idea under the sun. Not that that's necessarily true, but I do like that this film just said, like, whether or not it's more, more accurate or faithful to the source material, it feels like a different film that enhances, the original, as you said, Jake. I can appreciate both without liking one more than the other. I appreciate them both for different reasons,
Yeah, I mean, a fascinating thing. Talk about the zeitgeist.
Zeitgeistically.
Yes, exactly. I was looking at Variety, and Ian's final thoughts will, of course, close. This is just a little bit of bullshit.
Take your time.
I was looking at Variety archives, and there was an article about how Solaris was moving its release date up 2 weeks. And this is a direct quote. The Solaris time warp out of the December 13 frame also puts 2 weeks distance between Soderbergh's Sci-Fi and a potential direct competitor, Paramount's Star Trek Nemesis.
Yo, you did mention that. You did mention that, Jake. You said it gives me a chance to watch Nemesis.
Yeah, I watched Nemesis, and like it, there's a clone in it, and it's a little bit about like
played by fucking Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, yeah.
What the fuck, dude? What the fuck?
A very young Tom Hardy, but like very twinky. But like it's it's so funny to think about. Like science fiction is such a broad category that Variety, from the standpoint of like an industry magazine,
those are the same.
Those are the same thing. Yes. Solaris and Star Trek Nemesis are like Coke and Pepsi
Right.
if you're this guy. But then some movies that it came out against. Shanghai Nights, the Jackie Chan sequel.
Right. Don't remember that, I think. Who was in that? Was there?
It was Jackie Chan and Owen Wilson.
Oh, Owen Wilson. Okay, it was
the sequel to Shanghai Noon.
I'm confusing Owen Wilson with the black guy for some reason. I don't know.
You're confusing with Rush Hour, probably.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's
like Cowboy Rush Hour. Yeah. And then also 8 Crazy Nights, the Adam Sandler cartoon about Hanukkah. And then at the same time, Treasure Planet, the Disney.
That movie is fucking dope.
That movie's really cool.
That movie's really
I'm with you, man.
Underappreciated. I think I walked in on Ian watching Treasure Planet in Spanish once.
It's probably
makes
true.
It sound shameful.
Not in Chinese, but in Spanish.
Yeah. And then a movie that I remember seeing in the theater on Christmas Day, a few weeks later, Drumline with Nick Cannon.
Wow.
And Zoe Saldana from Avatar. It's all connected.
I feel good that I've seen all those movies, at least.
Yeah.
I have seen Shanghai Nights. I don't think I've seen the 8 Crazy Nights with Adam
8 Crazy
Sandler.
Nights is not that good, but there's a scene where I think like the panda off of a Panda Express sign at the mall comes to life and like sings a song or some shit. I don't know. Ian, your final thoughts.
We used to make shit like that. Go ahead.
We used to make things in
this country. Yeah. A couple things. First of all, I'm with you guys. I think I'm happy that both films exist. I think they're doing different things. After I had my crisis about learning how people reacted to the original Solaris, it made me much crazier to learn that people watched this film and were like, this is too hard. I mean, the film is infinitely more accessible than the first one, I think. And I don't necessarily mean that as a compliment to either one, but it's crazy to me that people walked out of this, like, adults walked out of this thinking, like, I don't know what that was about. Very bewildering to me.
I forgot to mention, when this movie came out, my stepmother was working at 20th Century Fox. And she and my dad got to go to the premiere, I believe, because they wanted seat fillers or something. And she said, at movie premieres, there's always a lot of applause at the end, like no matter what. And she said at the end of this movie, there was like 5 minutes of silence.
Yeah, well, there was not 5 minutes, but there was like 20 minutes of silence for me with the Tarkovsky film because I fell fucking asleep. I'm not saying that it was bad, but I'm just saying it was just.
You're trying to figure out what day it was. Yeah,
you were in a reverie.
I'm like, dude, this is slow as fuck. I'm watching to look at a lake for like 10 minutes, bro. Like, I don't know what's going on. But
that's great. What a lake,
I like it. But it is pretty lake.
Yeah. So people didn't know what to make of it at the time.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. And I want to shout out a couple things from the original because I assume we'll never talk about it ever again. So first of all, I think Natalia Bondarchuk, the woman who plays Hari, is doing like a supernatural job of playing somebody who just woke up as a new person and is like kind of scared and kind of in love. And I mean, I think it would be almost impossible to reproduce that level of like somebody having this experience that no human has ever had. And she does it so well. I think it's an all-time acting expression. I also think there's a great story. The guy who plays Snout, the sort of like
snow
equivalent, the friendlier scientist in the Tarkovsky. He was Estonian, not Russian. Interestingly, Tarkovsky had like almost no way of communicating with him, talking about our problem with like understanding somebody else's mind. There's a wonderful story where Tarkovsky did one of those weird things directors will do where he ranks all the actors in the film. He's like, here's who I think did the best.
That would horrify me.
Yeah, I mean, it's so unkind as a decision. Again. Right. But he loves this guy, Yuri Yarvit's performance. And he tells a great story where he says, there was this moment where we were on set and I was asking him to act in Russian, this language that he didn't speak really. And we were doing a rehearsal and I told him I wanted him to play it a little bit sadder. And he went back out there and he did exactly what Tarkovsky had in his mind. He like couldn't believe how every note of this was exactly what Tarkovsky had hoped for. And then Yuri Yarvit comes back to him and says, was that what you wanted? And Tarkovsky says, yes, that's exactly what I wanted. And he says, can you tell me, what does it mean a little bit sadder? Which I think is like,
whoa, that's so cool.
He just like vibes based figured out what probably this. So talking about the unbridgeable gap of language, I do think, maybe that's an argument for us being able to understand each other better than we think we can. So that's my little like hopeful gesture towards us being able to connect despite the barriers that exist between us.
I'll round that out in because I know we're closing out, but I just happened to just switch over to a tab. I have not been doing this all night, but I had a tab open because I was talking about the movie on Twitter, and someone commented, after I finished my second rewatch of the Soderbergh joint in preparation for this episode, and I'm not gonna call him a dumbass. Some dumbass, I will say, said, "Why would I watch an American version of a Soviet movie?" And I think exactly what you said. In terms of not understanding that there is even between, not just regions, but or languages, but countries, entire countries, right? That you can just take one thing from one version and another from, another version and not have them compete and think that because you are some uber fucking Marxist Leninist that the original is better. I do think that the American version has merit because it exists within a sort of cultural, temporal setting that is, I don't even think it was even more palatable to people then. Because as we were mentioning, people were just I don't get this fucking film.
Right.
If you don't get that film, if you watch the original version, you will absolutely not understand it. So just chill and just appreciate art for, art's sake.
Well, and also Tarkovsky got in fights with the Soviets, the Communist Party all the time. So if you're trying to be
it's not a Soviet film. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a Soviet film, but it's not it's
filmed by a Soviet guy,
right?
It's critical, as we talked about earlier. It's critical. I think it's critical of the Soviet bureaucrats.
Yeah, maybe at the very least skeptical, maybe, right? Yeah,
right. Exactly. The same way that the American version is skeptical of corporations. Right?
Aha, right. That's a good comparison.
Right.
Well, great. We have one final brief segment.
We know,
which is, of course, called Popcornopolis. Kimmy, can you explain what's going on here?
This is Popcornopolis, the segment where we ask our guest, do you like popcorn?
Aaron, do you like popcorn?
I like caramel I like popcorn. I mean, I it gets into the kernels get into my teeth and shit like that. So but I like caramel popcorn. Yeah.
Okay, nice. You do Cracker Jack? You ever fuck with a Cracker Jack? Or?
I do, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I went to see Superman with my sister, and she was like, "Well, I gotta have my popcorn." You know what I mean? And she got a big ass thing. She was like, "You want some?" I was like, "No, I'm gonna get the chicken wings." Or I got actual food.
Yeah,
which,
food. Yeah,
doesn't really feel. It doesn't feel natural to eat wings or a hot dog at a movie theater. Kind of. I'm I should have finger food that I could snack on, but I don't know, man. I can't deal with all that shit in my teeth. Man.
That's a mature decision. You're choosing to sustain your body instead of eat,
exactly.
It's important to make healthy choices.
Not just eat air for 2 hours.
Yeah. When Ian went to see Superman, he ordered the liquid oxygen.
Wait, can I know we close. Can I ask y'all a question though? Did y'all? I mean, this whole conversation. Did y'all like Superman?
I haven't seen it yet, actually.
I thought it was fine. I thought it. It had some. It had. I think the David Cornsweet seems like he could be a good Superman. I thought there was so much goddamn stuff going on. The movie can't just be a movie. It's doing a million different things.
It should have been a week in the life of Superman. I didn't need all this other shit. But I just asked that because I do, when I watch this film, Solaris and the original, it just made me remember how much I enjoy watching movies. Instead of now it feels like a chore to go see movies where I'm well, shit, man. I guess I live in the zeitgeist and I have to watch this fucking new.
Yeah, you gotta stay on top of the.
I want to see one battle after another, though. I do want to see that.
That looks great.
Yep.
That looks really good.
But I'm with you. I had to psych myself up to even rewatch the Tarkovsky, a film I know that I love. And then after I finished it, I was like, I'm going to just watch more Tarkovsky this week. Why? Not for the podcast, just because
good movies.
Because I just remembered why I enjoy doing this. Yeah.
It's crazy that he made all those movies and then he invented Samurai Jack.
Yes,
that's
right.
That's a Gendy Tarkovsky movie. I'm sorry. Yeah. Or joke rather. Popcorn.
I was wait, for real?
Ian, is anything going on with you and popcorn lately? Any popcorn updates?
I don't think so. I was thinking about Solaris. I forget if you said this, somebody said this online, whether in addition to the Russo brothers, Soderbergh accidentally created Denis Villeneuve as a concept. In making this movie, he created a man.
He might have
in a lab. Yeah. So I was thinking about Dune, and it's kind of like popcorn.
Dude is like popcorn. Yeah.
I did not like. Well, the second one was fine. I didn't like the first one. Fell asleep with the first one. Yeah.
I had a panic attack during the first one because I was seeing it in an IMAX theater where the seats are the rows are too close together, and I got up to pee during the previews, and the guy at the end of the row was like, ugh. And so then for 3 hours,
I gotta watch
like,
movies with niggas, bro. I got this other people. I have to watch movies with other
Why
people.
aren't I the only human on Earth?
Yeah, and so the whole time I was like, I can't get up and pee because the guy will make noise.
Oh my god! And that made you anxious the whole time. Where you like, I have to pee, but I can't get up.
It's like,
all right, that would fuck me up.
It's like, you know, it was also pretty close. I had a lot of COVID anxiety. You know, there was a lot going on.
I feel
so that's how I'm doing with popcorn.
Okay.
All right. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us.
This is awesome.
Of course.
We really got into it.
This is great.
This is wonderful.
Do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Mm-hmm.
No, not really. Only the Trillbillies. People should listen to the Trillbilly Workers Party, which is the podcast that I do with my comrades and brothers Tom and Terrence. And
some of the great voices in podcasting. I gotta say, just
come
like
on. We're big fans of their voice.
listenable.
And also, anybody who likes our podcast and wonders, I wish these guys were talking a little bit more about politics for real. Sometimes go check out the Trillbillies.
Don't worry, there's another podcast for you, and just go ahead and forget about this one.
Also, too, I think that if you like, the Trill, well, I mean, I'm recording this on this podcast, but we have very similar vibes. You know, I think that a lot of people, when they record, they try to be, it seems like they have like these performative bits lined up, or, you know, they try to be, I mean, like, we didn't get into this movie until like an hour into the podcast, which is really dope. So
it's a Tarkovsky pace
style
that we try to.
Indeed. I'm just looking at a lake with the trees reflected upon it. But
there's some grass waving just underneath the water.
What do you say? That shot is bad. That shot is so
that
beautiful.
Shot is extraordinary.
That shot is amazing.
Yeah.
No, honestly, no. Okay,
I'm not. But I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's hypnotic. It's hypnotic.
Yeah. So it's wonderful.
Tarkovsky, I think, joked. He was like, I wanted to put everybody at Mosfilm to sleep so that they wouldn't pay attention to the second half of the film and like make me cut stuff out. So maybe you're right.
I think it works.
That's what we do on the podcast. Also, we assume that you guys are like Mosfilm.
The NSA stops listening, so we can say like.
Exactly. So we can make threats against John Fetterman and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the Tesla diner after this and. Nah.
Strap a suicide. No, I'm kidding.
You do not have to set fire to the Tesla diner. It will take care of itself.
100%. But thanks so much, guys. Yo, this was great, yo.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks everybody for listening. Remember to subscribe, rate us, write a review. It helps us on the algorithm. If you like the show, tell a friend, tell your dad, tell your deceased wife's physical reincarnation. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Podcasty For Me if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, or you're interested in co-hosting a two-person Steven Soderbergh podcast. You can email us at podcastyforme@gmail.com. All of this is at podcastyforme.com. Thank you to Jeremy Allison for our artwork. We'll be back in 2 weeks with Ocean's 12, but if you can't wait that long, sign up for the Patreon. And until then, what's something to say at the end of the show?
I mean, don't orbit, a sentient planet.
Yeah.
Never lose anyone. Never have anyone die in your life.
Never have anyone die in your life.
Grief. Yeah.
Death will have no dominion.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.